Chapter 681, Journey Through the Particle World. Are you serious? The woman in the blue gauze, Green Qing, looked at Su Zimo hopefully. Of course. Why else would I risk my life to come here? Su Zimo said with a smile. The Lord asks you to wait a little longer. Once his injuries heal, he'll come to rescue you. No need. Green Qing waved her hands. Even as she spoke, tears flowed uncontrollably. As long as he's okay, I'm at peace. Sister, since Brother Wrathful is safe, you should take better care of yourself. Green Yun quickly added. What if something happens to you? What would he do then? Hearing Green Yun's words, Green Qing quickly nodded and said, You're right. I can't let anything happen to me. Otherwise, what would happen to Wrathful? I'll go pack up and move out of here. Watching Green Qing rush back into the room, Su Zimo smiled and said, She's panicking. Completely stop thinking. Keep your voice down, Green Yun warned. Try waiting 1,000 years in misery. You'd probably cling to anything too. At that moment, footsteps echoed from outside. Before Green Yun could react, the wooden gate of the courtyard was kicked open. Sir, I heard voices coming from here just now, a guard said in a low voice. A group of soldiers in green armor burst in, about a dozen of them, with a man in a green robe following behind. When she saw the man in the green robe, Green Yun's expression changed. Then she shouted angrily, Green He, you betrayed me. Green He tried to say something, but the leader of the armored group waved his hand and said, Pick up your food rations tomorrow. Get out. Got it? Got it? Green He said with a fawning smile and quickly left the courtyard. Didn't you know it's forbidden to be outside at night? The leader said calmly, looking at Green Yun. I just came to see my sister. Green Yun stepped forward, shielding Su Zimo, and explained with a smile. Who's he? The leader asked, staring directly at Su Zimo. Why doesn't he have any lizard race traits? Run, Green Yun whispered to Su Zimo. Catch him, the leader said sharply, raising his right hand. The soldiers behind him all charged at once. Run, Green Yun shouted as she saw Su Zimo standing still. What's the rush? Su Zimo said casually and raised his right hand. From a distance of 3 to 4 meters, the leader's neck was suddenly gripped by an invisible force. He was lifted off the ground, gasping for breath, his face turning blue. Then, with a crushing squeeze from Su Zimo, his head was torn off and fell from his neck. The surrounding soldiers were so terrified they instinctively backed away a few steps. None of you are leaving. Su Zimo waved his hand, and the air around them compressed. With a loud explosion, all the bodies burst into pieces, blood and flesh flying everywhere. Green Yun stood frozen at the sight. Su Zimo ignored her and crouched down to extract the hearts of the green lizards. There was always a chance of failure when fusing hearts, so he had to prepare multiple. As he pulled the blood-soaked hearts out, Green Yun was completely shocked. You? She stammered, unable to finish her sentence. What's wrong? Su Zimo asked. Who are you, really? Green Yun asked. I told you, just a capable human who ended up here by accident. Su Zimo smiled. Let's talk. Talk about what? Green Yun asked. Take me to the other lizard tribes. If I'm in a good mood, maybe I'll become a dragon-slaying hero? Su Zimo laughed. Do you even know what you're saying? Green Yun was stunned. Do you know what kind of being that black dragon is? You killed those people, by tomorrow it'll be discovered. I suggest you hide. I know what I'm saying. Just think about it, Su Zimo replied. As they spoke, Green Qing came out of the room, packed and ready. Let's go, she said. Green Qing nodded. Having gone so long without eating, her figure looked frail and thin. She needed help just to walk. I'll leave now, Su Zimo said. I'll wait for you in the orchard. If you don't come by dawn, I'll leave. You only get one chance. Watching Su Zimo's retreating figure, Green Yun opened her mouth to say something but fell silent. Where is he going? Green Qing asked. He has a mission. You don't need to worry about it, sister, Green Yun said with a smile. After returning to the orchard, Su Zimo resumed his cultivation. He wasn't going to waste time here. Although the area didn't contain the absorbable mist, Su Zimo had a feeling that the source of that mist might be within this small world. He wasn't familiar with this world, so it would be best to have a guide. But if not, he wouldn't mind searching alone. The night passed quietly. As dawn broke, Su Zimo heard light footsteps approaching. He looked up to see Green Yun walking over, carrying a large pack and dressed in black leather armor and pants. She also wore a white cloak over her shoulders. Her appearance was rather comical. "What's with this outfit?" Su Zimo laughed. "How do I look? Not bad, right? This is my battle gear. Took me forever to prepare it." Green Yun grinned. "Changed your mind?" Su Zimo asked. "I still don't believe you can beat the Black Dragon. But I'm tired of living like this. I want to try," Green Yun said with a laugh. "At worst, I'll die. Sometimes living feels more painful." "Good mindset," Su Zimo nodded. "You'll be glad you made this choice." "So where are we going first?" Green Yun asked. "Let's go to the Red Lizard territory first," Su Zimo replied. Green Yun nodded, then pulled out a map from her clothes. The map was made from some kind of animal skin. It looked old and worn. "This was passed down from my great-great-grandfather. Back before the Black Dragon ruled, our lizard tribes used to visit each other," Green Yun explained. She spread out the map and looked at it for a while before saying, "Head east past the Black Dragon River. We'll reach it in 3 days." "Then let's go," Su Zimo said, waving his hand. "Give me your pack. It's a hassle to carry." He took the pack and tossed it directly into his True Fate world. Chapter 682, Dark Sky Tiger Battles Black Wyvern. "That's a storage ring, isn't it?" Green Yun asked from the side. "Something like that." Su Zimo nodded slightly. The two headed east. Though this particle world was vast, the lizard race was a major tribe, densely distributed, so it wasn't too hard to navigate. "When we reach Black Wyvern River, you'll face your first challenge," Green Yun warned. "What do you mean?" Su Zimo asked. "The Black Dragon has 4 guardians: Black Wyvern, Black Python, Black Panther, and Black Tortoise," Green Yun explained. "They stand between the territories of the 4 lizard tribes, preventing communication among us." "What's the cultivation level of the Black Wyvern?" Su Zimo asked while wiping his long blade. It was a gift from a noble-looking young man during a previous duel. "It should be at the early Fusion Heaven realm," Green Yun thought for a moment and replied. "I can't say for sure, but I remember Brother Wrathful once told us that the Black Dragon is already a half-Empyrean, only 1 step away from Grand Empyrean. His guardians shouldn't be weak either." "Why doesn't your lizard race cultivate?" Su Zimo asked curiously. "The Black Dragon forbids it. Only its lackeys can receive some low-level cultivation techniques," Green Yun replied. "Otherwise, it's afraid we'd rise up." Su Zimo nodded. He raised his right hand and summoned the Dark Sky Tiger from his True Fate world. The massive black tiger appeared in front of them, several dozen meters tall, with immense beastly pressure radiating outward. The Dark Sky Tiger roared, its fierce mouth wide open, fangs dozens of centimeters long. When Green Yun saw the beast, she screamed and collapsed to the ground in fear. She tried to run, but her legs were too weak to move. This. She pointed at the Dark Sky Tiger, trembling. "What are you afraid of?" "It's my mount," Su Zimo said with a smile. "Your mount?" Green Yun was stunned, then sighed in relief, but still didn't dare get close. "You could have warned me first. I didn't get the chance." "Who knew you'd react so strongly?" Su Zimo replied. "We're too slow on foot. Riding this will be faster." Though the Dark Sky Tiger hadn't fought much lately, with Su Zimo's extensive resources, it had reached peak Imperial Meridian realm, equivalent to the peak of the Fusion Heaven realm. Its body had become more powerful and muscular. Its eyes were deep and dark, and its claws nearly 1/2 meter long. With each step, it left deep gashes in the ground. "Will it eat me?" Green Yun asked nervously.
"No."
"It only follows my orders." Su Zimo shook his head. He flipped onto the tiger's back. "Come on up." Green Yun hesitated, then cautiously approached. Su Zimo grabbed her hand and pulled her up in one swift motion. Hold on tight, Su Zimo reminded her. The dark sky tiger bolted forward at extreme speed, wind howling past their ears. Green Yun felt the speed increasing, and the wind turned into a violent gale. Her thin body felt like a piece of paper, ready to be blown away. I can't hold on, she shouted from behind. Su Zimo waved his hand, forming a large hand of spirit force to support her from behind. After several hours, the dark sky tiger finally stopped at the edge of a black river. The river's current was rapid, its color ominously dark. It looked like dead water with a foul stench rising from it. The surface surged violently, wave after wave crashing endlessly. This is the place. Once we cross this river, we'll be in red lizard territory, Green Yun said. But with the black wyvern here, no one dares cross. Su Zimo glanced at the dark sky tiger. The tiger roared fiercely, opened its jaws, and released a spirit force blast into the river. With a loud boom, the water exploded, splashing everywhere. The center of the river burst open. The already raging surface became even more turbulent. Who dares disturb this king's slumber? A gloomy voice rose from the riverbed. Green Yun was clearly nervous. She gripped Su Zimo's arm and whispered, "If we can't win, we run." Suddenly, the murky river churned. A deep vortex appeared in the center. With the vortex came a series of thunderous explosions. A massive figure slowly emerged from the riverbed. It was a dark black wyvern, over 10 meters long. The scales were half gray, half black. Its mouth was pointed, with 8 one-meter-long whiskers. Its small, round eyes spun constantly. 2 small horns grew from its head, seemingly not fully developed. What species is this? Su Zimo chuckled. He had seen many types of flood dragons, but this one didn't look fierce, more comical. Really? Who are you? The wyvern asked, eyeing Su Zimo. Cut the chatter. Kill it. Su Zimo waved his hand and said indifferently. The dark sky tiger roared again and leapt dozens of meters into the air, pouncing at the wyvern. The wyvern didn't even have time to react before it was slammed into the river. How dare you offend the noble Lord Black Wyvern? Came an enraged roar. The black wyvern wrapped its body around the tiger, trying to crush it in two. The river churned violently as the two beasts battled, stirring up endless waves. The dark sky tiger raised a claw and slashed at the wyvern's neck, causing blood to gush instantly. A shrill scream echoed. The dark sky tiger was clearly stronger, its overwhelming beast aura radiating outward. It opened its bloody jaws and bit into the wyvern, tearing off chunks of flesh. Then, with both claws, it pinned the wyvern's head and slashed down its neck. Explosions roared louder and louder. The black river shot waves dozens of meters high. As the wyvern's resistance weakened, a resentful voice emerged. If you kill me, Lord Black Dragon will never let you go. About to die and still worrying about someone else. Ridiculous. Su Zimo shook his head. The dark sky tiger slashed again, this time severing the wyvern's head from its body. The foul-smelling black river turned red with blood. It died just like that. Green Yun stammered in disbelief. Chapter 683, Heart of the Fire Lizard. What else did you expect? Su Zimo said. A fusion heaven realm beast. Nothing more than an ant. How else could it struggle? But that was one of the 4 guardians. Green Yun still found it hard to believe. Thousands of years of belief couldn't be overturned in an instant. That was supposed to be the strongest existence aside from the Black Dragon. That's only true for you, Su Zimo replied. If you ever get the chance to see the wider world beyond, you'll understand. With the Black Wyvern's death, the turbulent river gradually calmed down. What about it? Green Yun pointed at the Jiao's corpse. Leave it. It's useless, Su Zimo answered. The two of them rowed the dark sky tiger across the river and arrived on the opposite shore. Though it was only separated by a river, the land here was clearly different from the green lizard plains. The ground was red and even the plants that grew were pale red. Not far ahead, A canyon appeared in their field of view. Let's go. The red lizards live inside that canyon, though I don't know if anything's changed over the years, Green Yun said. Su Zimo nodded and stored away the dark sky tiger. Stepping onto the red land, he walked forward. Can you tell me what you're looking for in our lizard race? Green Yun asked after a moment of silence, finally gathering her courage. I used to believe you entered here by mistake, but now it's clear you came here for a reason. What use do you think your lizard race has for me? Su Zimo asked with a smile. No idea. Green Yun shook her head. Ever heard of the blood lizard? Su Zimo asked again. You're... Green Yun was startled. After thinking for a while, she finally realized. No wonder. You're talking about that legend. So you do know? Su Zimo nodded. Well, for humans like you, I guess our lizard race does have some use, Green Yun said. Actually, that's a secret within our race. Ordinary lizards don't know anything about it. But 1,000 years ago, the wrathful lord came here with the same goal. That's how I learned about it. He gave up later? Su Zimo asked. Not really. The problem was that his fusion method was incomplete, so he ultimately failed. Green Yun shook her head. If he'd had a complete fusion technique and consumed the blood lizard heart, he might have actually defeated the black dragon. Looks like you know quite a lot, Su Zimo said with a grin. Our lizard race lives long. The longer you live, the more you learn, Green Yun replied. Can I ask you for a favor? Let me guess, you don't want me to kill your fellow lizards? Su Zimo asked. No, just... Can you spare the innocent ones? There are plenty of black dragon lackeys you can kill, Green Yun said. I'll consider it, Su Zimo smiled. As they spoke, they arrived at the canyon. The soil here was deep red. No plants grew on the canyon walls, making it look like a desert wasteland, barren and exposed. The canyon wasn't very large, but it was noticeably hotter inside. Some footprints on the ground seemed to belong to red lizards. Following the narrow path through the canyon, they walked another 30 or 40 meters when a voice shouted, "Stop right there!" 3 black figures jumped down from the canyon walls above. Black dragon guards, Green Yun said quickly. Who are you? The 3 looked at Green Yun and barked. Why has a green lizard come here? Su Zimo frowned slightly and couldn't be bothered to speak. He waved his hand, and the 3 figures flew backward through the air. With a loud crash, the 3 of them slammed hard into the canyon wall. Due to the immense force, rubble fell from above, and the 3 men were embedded into the cliff. You! One of them pointed at Su Zimo, but before he could finish the sentence, he coughed up black blood and fell silent. The noise drew others' attention. The canyon walls opened up with small earthen doors, and one red head after another cautiously peeked out. These red lizards lived in dwellings that resembled cave homes, carved into the canyon walls. The doors were made from hardened red clay. Someone killed the black dragon guards. What's going on? Looks like there's a green lizard here too. Why would one come to our territory? The red lizards whispered at first, but as more people joined, their voices grew louder and more chaotic. Everyone, don't be afraid. We're here to free you. Green Yun shouted loudly. We killed the black dragon guards, and the black wyvern from the Black River is dead too. You're free now. Just then, a shout came from nearby. What's all this noise? Tired of living? A group of red lizards in red armor rushed over. Kill them. The lackeys are here, Green Yun said urgently. The newly arrived red lizards were shocked by the scene before them. Black dragon guards, what happened? Their leader rushed forward and checked their condition. Quickly discovering they were dead, he turned around nervously and asked, Who did this? I did, Su Zimo said calmly. Several of the red-armored lizards drew their blades, glaring fiercely at him. What are you doing? That's great. The leader suddenly shouted at his men. He scolded, This hero killed those scum. We should be celebrating. Are you trying to rebel? After berating his men, the red lizard leader turned to Su Zimo with a fawning smile. My lord, you don't know what it's like. These black dragon guards enslaved us daily. We had no choice but to obey them and do things we didn't want to. I've long wanted to fight back but never had the chance. You understand the situation well. Not bad. Suzimo smiled. Unfortunately, I'm strange that way. Anyone I want to kill dies, friend or foe. As he finished speaking, Suzimo raised his hand and slammed it down. A giant astral hand formed and crashed down. With a thunderous boom, the ground exploded. A deep five-finger crater remained, and a pile of corpses. Suzimo removed their hearts one by one and said to Green Yun, "This place is yours now. I'll head out after I'm done." As Suzimo left the canyon, all the red lizards jumped out of their cave homes, curiously surrounding Green Yun with questions. Leaving the canyon behind, Suzimo found a relatively quiet place to begin fusing the fire lizard's heart. He took out several fusion stones. Chapter 684, The Yellow Lizard Va, the Disappearing Mist. According to the fusion method, the heart of the fire lizard was the first and easiest step. 2 lizard hearts rolled through the air, surrounded by a faint glow of green and pale red. Suzimo formed seals with both hands as waves of spiritual energy surged around him. The fusion stones nearby began to tremble, and with a series of cracking sounds, they shattered. Invisible energy burst forth, merging and enveloping the 2 lizard hearts. As Suzimo activated the fusion technique, the 2 hearts tumbled continuously. It seemed as if souls inside were struggling, and there were faint howls and roars. 2 spiritual energies were forcibly fused together, mixed with the power of the fusion stones. At first, the hearts resisted fiercely, but under Suzimo's suppression, their resistance gradually weakened. Eventually, with a faint chime, a flame ignited on the heart's surface. Did it work? Suzimo let out a sigh of relief. He examined it carefully and saw the 2 lizard hearts had merged into one, now deep red in color. Vein-like patterns ran throughout it, and faint flames burned atop it. Holding the heart in his hand, it wasn't hot, just warm. Succeeding on the first try put him in a good mood. The next step was to find a 1,000-year-old yellow lizard and fuse it with the fire lizard heart to create the jade lizard. Suzimo returned to the canyon. What had been an empty passageway was now crowded with red lizards. As soon as they saw Suzimo, all the red lizards knelt down and shouted loudly, "Thank you, benefactor. Your grace will never be forgotten. We are eternally grateful. Get up." Suzimo waved his hand and turned to Green Yun. "Let's go find the yellow lizards." After explaining things to the people, Green Yun nodded and set out with Suzimo once again. The red lizards waved goodbye, though they didn't dare celebrate too early. The black dragon had yet to be dealt with. Anything could still happen. After leaving the canyon where the red lizards lived, Green Yun looked at the map and said, "The yellow lizards like the cold. We head north. They live on the snowy mountains. This particle world of yours even has distinct seasons." Suzimo laughed. "Not exactly. That mountain was created by the ancestors of the yellow lizards," Green Yun explained. "Before the black dragon came, our 4 tribes fought among ourselves a bit. But after it arrived, everyone had their own problems and didn't bother with conflict anymore." "Who's the guardian for the yellow lizards?" Suzimo asked. "The black tortoise," Green Yun said. "It's the oldest and strongest of the 4 guardians." They rode the dark sky tiger on another long journey. After traveling all night, when the eastern sky was just turning white and night hadn't completely faded, they arrived at the black tortoise's dwelling. It was a pool of water a few hundred square meters in size. Above it was a waterfall. The current wasn't strong, flowing gently with occasional ripples. The pool was filled with jagged rocks and crystal-clear water. "Go ahead," Suzimo commanded the dark sky tiger. With a roar, the tiger shot a blast of spiritual energy into the water, causing it to explode with sprays of waves. But the pool remained still. A few ripples later, it was calm once again. Despite repeated attacks from the dark sky tiger, which nearly destroyed the pool, no sign of the tortoise appeared. "What's going on?" Green Yun asked, puzzled. "Is it not here?" Zimo smiled. He could clearly sense a life force at the bottom of the pool, but since it didn't want to come out, he didn't want to waste time. "Let's go," he said, and they rode the dark sky tiger safely past the pool. Following the waterfall upstream, they headed toward the yellow lizard's territory. Only after they had completely left and the wind and water settled, did a tortoise shell slowly rise to the surface. With a plop, a little head popped out of the shell. "Damn it, that scared Grandpa Tortoise to death," the tortoise muttered, flipping itself over. "That beast's aura is almost equal to Lord Black Dragon. Good thing old Tortoise me has always been cautious." It looked solemnly in the direction Zimo had disappeared and murmured that this outsider might change the fate of this particle world. Then it retracted into its shell and sank back into the water. As far as it was concerned, none of this had anything to do with it. It only needed to guard this passage symbolically, no need to get involved in anything else. After entering the yellow lizard's territory, Zimo could clearly feel the temperature dropping. The ground beneath their feet turned white with snow, and their breath became visible. The yellow lizard's territory wasn't very large. Among the 4 tribes, they had the fewest numbers. Directly ahead stood a snow-covered mountain. Upon entering the yellow lizard's land, Zimo sensed the long-lost mist again. That same mist which the strange Meridian Sutra could absorb had reappeared. Looking up at the increasingly mysterious snow mountain, Zimo walked forward slowly. He had only taken a few steps when the surrounding wind and snow suddenly went berserk. From the blizzard, figures began to take shape. Snowmen formed from the snowstorm. They were massive, beating their chests with exaggerated and hideous expressions as they charged forward. With each step, they left deep footprints behind, and booming crashes echoed through the air. "What are those?" Green Yun cried out in panic. "This mist is interesting. It can even mutate snow," Zimo replied with a smile. Back in the misty forest, mutated plants and trees made sense, since they were living beings. But now even lifeless things were mutating. Though there were many snowmen, they were weak. The dark sky tiger easily slapped them apart with its claws, reducing them to scattered snowflakes. With the tiger clearing the way, they soon arrived at the foot of the snow mountain. There, a snow-covered stone tablet stood. Green Yun brushed away the snow and revealed a poem carved into the stone. "Yellow clouds stretch for 10,000 miles, stirring the wind. White waves surge in 9 streams, flowing through the snow mountain. In front of the tablet, steps stretched upward, climbing toward the sky above the snow mountain. Behind them, countless snowmen continued to charge fearlessly. When they died, they simply turned into fluttering snowflakes." "Let's go up and take a look," Zimo said. Chapter 685, Black Dragon King. On the snowy mountain, snowflakes fell from the sky one by one. The snowflakes spun in the air and gently landed on the steps. On both sides, the snow pear trees were in full bloom with red and white flowers, each with fist-sized, unripe snow pears hanging from them. "There don't seem to be any black dragon guards here," Zimo said. "I'm not sure, but let's stay cautious." Green Yun shook her head and replied. The higher they climbed, the stronger the mysterious mist became. By the time Zimo reached halfway up the mountain, his 11th extraordinary meridian had already been activated involuntarily. "Someone's intruding!" A loud shout erupted from halfway up the mountain. A group of yellow lizards in yellow robes came rushing up from below. They looked no different from ordinary humans, except for their yellow ears. On their foreheads was a yellow circular mark with a 6-pointed star carved inside. "Who are you?" the leading yellow lizard said sternly. "Leave immediately or die." "We're here to rescue you," Green Yun quickly said. "To overthrow the Black Dragon's rule and regain your freedom." The yellow lizards exchanged glances, and the leader frowned. "There are no Black Dragon guards here. You should just leave." "What? Same race and you won't even invite us in for a meal?" Zimo said. "Who are you?" The yellow lizard leader finally took note of Zimo and frowned. "Let's go up and take a look," Zimo said. "Going forward means death. The yellow lizard snorted and extended his hands, each fingertip bearing claws several dozen centimeters long, sharp and emitting a chill. Su Zimo looked up toward the mountain peak. He had a strong feeling that the source of the mist lay in that direction. With a wave of his right hand, the dark sky tiger stormed out from the void and stomped heavily on the ground. Countless cracks split the earth, and the yellow lizards lost their footing, all collapsing to the ground. The massive tiger's head moved closer, its gaping maw exuding a fishy stench, stopping just a few centimeters from the lizards. "Emma monster." The yellow lizards huddled together, trembling in fear. With the tiger clearing the way, Su Zimo advanced toward the mountain peak with ease. Some yellow lizard clansmen attempted to block the path, but the dark sky tiger swatted them down the mountain effortlessly. Su Zimo noticed that the yellow lizards here all cultivated, and compared to the green and red lizards, their strength was on a completely different level. "Can you stop killing them?" Green Yun pleaded from the side, clearly disturbed. "They're the ones seeking death by blocking me," Su Zimo said coldly, glancing at her. "You should know your place." Green Yun nodded, not daring to speak further. She suddenly felt that Su Zimo was extremely cold at that moment. As Su Zimo continued upward, more and more yellow lizards tried to stop him, but none were a match for the dark sky tiger. Just then, two distinct roars echoed from both sides of the mountainside. A massive black panther and a black python coiled along the cliff appeared ahead. "The four guardians?" Green Yun exclaimed. "Why are the black panther and black python here? Weren't they guarding the blue lizards?" "Looks like your intel isn't so accurate after all," Su Zimo smiled. "Do you know where the Black Dragon Palace is?" "Black Dragon Palace?" Green Yun shook her head. "No one knows. We can't leave our territories. It's a mystery." As the dark sky tiger fought the black panther, Su Zimo walked up toward the peak without hesitation. The two beasts tried to stop him, but it was futile. As Su Zimo neared the summit, the skies above the snowy mountains suddenly darkened. Then came an earth-shaking dragon roar. Thunder and lightning tore through the sky like a storm from hell. It felt like the entire mountain was about to be swallowed and destroyed. A massive black dragon, carrying thunder and an overwhelming dragon's might, emerged from the heavens. A black storm swirled in the sky above, forming a vortex of devouring energy. "Human, you should not have come here." The Black Dragon King's voice boomed like thunder. "What is this mysterious power?" Su Zimo said with some enjoyment, feeling the intensifying mist. The strange Meridian Sutra absorbed the mist, and with each meridian opened, his body transformed more and more. "You can sense it?" The Black Dragon King looked at Su Zimo in shock. "So, you've obtained that cultivation method too?" "You mean the Strange Meridian Sutra?" Su Zimo asked. "Strange Meridian Sutra?" The Black Dragon King muttered, then said, "You humans sure know how to name things. Looks like you know quite a bit." Su Zimo smiled. "Human, since you're here, you're not leaving. Knowing too much won't end well." The Black Dragon King roared and lunged at Su Zimo. The enormous dragon head, brimming with thunderous might, lunged to devour Su Zimo. "You're not qualified to be my opponent," Su Zimo said indifferently. With a wave of his right hand, two dragons flew out from his god world. One red, one blue, twin dragon gods of ice and fire. After being nurtured and cultivated on the god world, the dragon race had finally taken root and begun to flourish. As the twin dragons appeared, their fusion of ice and fire suppressed the heavens. Their vast spiritual energy surged like a never-ending ocean. The Black Dragon King's head was smacked away by a single tail swipe. How is this possible?" The Black Dragon King stared in disbelief. "Finish it," Su Zimo ordered, then walked up to the mountain summit. Once at the peak, Su Zimo closed his eyes, emptied his thoughts, and took a deep breath. "I feel it. I can feel it. The source is right here," he said. Then, looking at the empty mountaintop, he smiled and said, "Still hiding? Do I have to blast you all out one by one?" "Young man, arrogance leads to a bad end," an aged voice echoed. Then the space before him twisted, and 4 figures stepped out from the broken void with overwhelming presence. 4 elders, all wearing identical robes, though in different colors: red, blue, green, and yellow. When the 4 elders appeared, Green Yun stood stunned. She rubbed her eyes and stammered in disbelief. "To the 4 patriarchs?" Chapter 686 Battle against the 4 patriarchs. Seeing Green Yun's reaction, Su Zimo chuckled and said, "Looks like things are getting more interesting." At this moment, Green Yun was completely stunned. The 4 ancient patriarchs of the lizard race, who were said to have died in battle against the Black Dragon King, had actually appeared here. The lizard race had always regarded transforming into a dragon as their lifelong goal. According to legend, the 4 patriarchs were once deceived and allowed the Black Dragon King to enter. Later, in a desperate battle, the 4 elders were killed, and the Black Dragon King completely conquered this world. But now, things seemed very different from the legend. "Patriarchs, why are you here?" Green Yun asked hesitantly. She had initially wanted to ask why the 4 patriarchs were siding with the Black Dragon King, but ultimately swallowed the question. "Third brother, looks like it's someone from your tribe breaking the rules," said the elder in blue robes to the elder in green. "You fool, is this something you should even know?" The green-robed elder glared angrily at Green Yun. Then he said, "Why did you leave your territory? And why did you bring a human here to stir up chaos? If this gets ruined, you'll be a sinner of the lizard race for all eternity." Seeing the elder's attitude, Green Yun was on the verge of tears. I didn't know anything," she cried out. "Enough, don't bully the girl." Su Zimo waved his hand and said calmly, "You old geezers really prove the saying true. Old but not dead. That's the real thief. Young man, you've got a sharp tongue," the yellow-robed elder said as he looked at Su Zimo. "You're bold to walk into our lizard race alone. No need to waste words. Take him down before it's too late." The red-robed elder snorted and reached out with a massive hand toward Su Zimo. "You?" Su Zimo chuckled lightly. The long blade in his hand erupted with boundless light, and a slash of blade energy severed the red-robed elder's right hand. "Hiss!" The red elder quickly pulled his arm back and let out a low growl of pain. "This kid's got some skill. Everyone attack together." The blue-robed elder frowned and said. The 4 of them rose into the sky, exuding intense Empyrean pressure from their bodies. Their overwhelming aura surged like the mighty yellow river, endlessly flooding forward. As the Empyrean pressure fell, their soaring figures appeared even more towering, shaking the heavens. Faintly connected together, they silenced the world. Grand Empyreans at the pinnacle of the Tao. True powerhouses that stand proud above all. These 4 elders were Empyreans. Their strength could crush any Empyrean sect. "These are the patriarchs you talked about?" Su Zimo smiled at Green Yun. "With elders like these, how could you be ruled by the Black Dragon King? After all, the Black Dragon King was only a half-Empyrean. How could he stand against 4 Empyreans?" Su Zimo realized he had underestimated the lizard race. Though they were considered a small race, being able to have their own world of decent size meant they couldn't possibly lack true powerhouses. Green Yun was completely stunned. She shook her head, almost in tears. "I really don't know. Everything's changed in an instant." She didn't understand why the elders were this powerful. Just moments ago, she was the hero trying to save her race. Now she was being called a traitor. "Enough. Stay back so you don't get hurt," Su Zimo waved and said. He looked up at the sky. The 4 Empyreans stood above, like legendary gods, looking down with disdain. They raised their arms, and the heavens changed colors. Day turned to night, stars streaked across the sky. Endless spirit force gathered, forming a storm that made the sky rumble with thunder. The 4 stood above, casting down 4 massive hands of spirit force. Su Zimo smiled lightly as the long blade in his hand surged with limitless blade intent. That intent raged around him, splitting heaven and earth into countless fragments. "Samsara reversal," Su Zimo said calmly. His blade roared like thunder, tearing through space with the force of samsara. In an instant, the surrounding space was divided by yin and yang, and the blade intent surged out from within reincarnation. It shattered the 4 giant hands and exploded in front of the 4 elders. Blade energy crisscrossed, countless blade shadows filled the space. Ah! Came screams as the blade intent faded. The 4 Empyreans fell from the sky, covered in blood. A thunderous explosion tore a hole in midair. Who dares stand above others? Su Zimo said coldly. Seeing the 4 Empyreans collapsed on the ground, Green Yun was shocked and hid behind a rock, speechless. The battle at the foot of the mountain was also nearing its end. The Black Panther, bloodied, lay under the dark heavenly tiger's paw. Surrounded by the twin dragons of ice and fire, the Black Dragon King had no chance to fight back and could only flee in desperation. Boy, you forced us to this point. The blue-robed elder staggered to his feet and said weakly. So what? Su Zimo smiled. Then we'll fight to the death. You think the lizard race is easy prey? As his voice fell, for different roars echoed out. The 4 elders began to mutate visibly. Their bodies crouched on the ground, limbs transforming into scaly giant claws. Their bodies grew larger. Spikes formed on their heads, and long tails extended from their backs. Their eyes were multicolored, and distinct layers of scales emerged across their bodies. They had transformed into 4 massive mutant lizards. Blue, red, yellow, and green, each a different color. Now, as the 4 elders revealed their true forms, the oppressive beastly might blanketed the entire snowy mountain. The falling snowflakes seemed to freeze in place. All the yellow lizards on the mountain instinctively knelt down. Even Green Yun couldn't resist it. They felt awe and reverence from deep within their hearts. The 4 giant lizards turned their heads, white breath steaming from their mouths, as they stared gloomily at Su Zimo. It was like watching a dead man, making one's scalp go numb. Boy, to force us this far, you can feel proud, the red lizard said in human tongue, its voice cold. Now, how do you want to die? How do I want to die? Su Zimo glanced at them and smiled faintly. Do you even know who you're talking to? Chapter 687, The Godly Monarch. As Su Zimo's words fell, an overwhelming aura surged from his body. It was the aura of a godly monarch, the peak that mortals could reach, the so-called supreme existence of the eternal lands. The river of spirit force roared forth, and blade intent swept across 30,000 miles. Su Zimo stepped into the air 1 step at a time. Divine might surged, and the entire sky fell into complete silence. His light purple robe fluttered in the wind as he stood with his hands behind his back. His long hair was tied in a topknot, strands of it drifting messily behind him. In this moment, the Empyrean pressure brought by the 4 lizard Empyreans disappeared completely. It was as if the entire world had only Su Zimo remaining. Everyone's gaze was involuntarily drawn toward him. The world stirred with clouds and wind. Divine might swept down mightily. His long blade hummed softly, as if expressing its inner joy. All beneath the godly monarch are mere ants, Su Zimo said, his gaze profound. It was as if he saw through time, space, decay, and prosperity, crushing all beneath his will. This is... The blue lizard's expression changed drastically, trembling as he looked at Su Zimo. Impossible. A godly monarch? Which human godly monarch is this? Why have I never heard of him? The red lizard struggled to stand, resisting the divine pressure, and said, Isn't there only one godly monarch in the southern region, the Eternal One? What do we do now? The 4 Empyreans exchanged glances, feeling the pressure mounting. Try him. What if this kid is just bluffing? Said the blue lizard, his voice heavy. Godly monarchs aren't cabbages. How could we run into one so easily? Come then. Let me see what you ants are capable of. Su Zimo stood in the sky and said calmly. The 4 lizards roared at the sky. Rings of light of different colors surged from their bodies. Behind each of them appeared a massive phantom, for lizards of differing shapes. The 4 phantom lizards roared toward the heavens, exuding an ancient aura as they stood tall upon the earth. "Merge!" the blue lizard chanted lightly. The 4 lizard phantoms turned into 4 streams of light, fusing together. Shrill, hideous screams echoed out. The spirit force of the snow mountain gathered madly at this spot. The ice and snow melted. All things revived. The falling snow completely disappeared, and a gentle wind began to blow. As the 4 streams of light flickered, the 4 Empyreans placed their palms together and shouted, "Ancestor of the ancient lizards, come forth!" A deafening roar followed. The light dispersed, and a colossal beast appeared atop the mountain. It was a massively enlarged beast lizard. Different from ordinary lizards, its body had mottled colors, and from its mouth jutted 2 enormous fangs. Its teeth were arranged in 3 rows of serrated edges. Most notably, the ancient lizard ancestor had 3 eyes. Though the 3rd eye on its forehead remained closed, it still emanated a powerful aura. "Please guide us," the blue-robed lizard said solemnly to Suzimo. Now that they knew Suzimo was a godly monarch, all arrogance and contempt had vanished. Everyone knew what a godly monarch represented. The eternal godly monarch had once reshaped the entire eternal lands. A godly monarch's slightest move could reverse oceans, shift the sun and moon, and change the course of destiny. Looking at the ancient lizard ancestor, Suzimo slightly shook his head. "Too weak," he said. The ancient lizard ancestor roared and opened its serrated maw, unleashing a beam of energy made of 4 colors at Suzimo. This beam tore through layers of space and collapsed half the sky. It soared into the heavens and shot straight at Suzimo. Suzimo calmly raised his right hand and caught the energy blast with one hand. Boom! Explosions rippled through the void. Seeing Suzimo easily block the attack, the ancient lizard ancestor froze. Its massive body hovered above the mountaintop. Its right foot shifted back, and its tail swept violently, slicing half the summit. With a loud boom, the ancient lizard ancestor leaped 100 meters into the air like a cannonball and charged at Suzimo. Mid-air, the ancient lizard ancestor flipped, its claws several meters long, tearing through space as they slashed at Suzimo. Pointless. Suzimo shook his head. He waved his hand and casually slapped. "Awoo!" With a mournful cry, the ancient lizard ancestor was sent flying by a single slap. Its massive body embedded deep into the base of the mountain, blood flowing like rivers. The entire snow mountain trembled. Many yellow lizards were shaken off the mountain. The ancient lizard ancestor struggled to rise, covered in blood, its scaly flesh torn and mangled, heavily wounded. "Open the heaven's eye!" the blue lizard elder roared. The ancient lizard ancestor let out a thunderous cry and raised its head. Its forehead eye suddenly opened. In that moment, an ancient, wild aura burst from the eye. It gleamed with brilliance, and an immeasurable force exploded forth. The surrounding space distorted. This energy resembled a storm of thunder. It moved too fast to be seen, blasting directly at Suzimo. Suzimo stood still, unmoving and unflinching. The storm of thunder struck with lightning and destruction, twisting toward him. It smashed directly into Suzimo. "Got him!" the red lizard Empyrean exclaimed with joy. "No." The yellow lizard Empyrean shook his head slightly. Everyone looked again and saw the thunderstorm blast through the sky, dyeing the sky in 7 colors. It pierced through Suzimo's body, but the expected bloody outcome never came. Suzimo still stood there calmly, gazing at them like clowns, with a playful smirk. "Was that fun?" he asked. This is the power of a godly monarch," the red lizard Empyrean muttered. "How can he be this strong?" "This is a completely different realm," sighed the green lizard Empyrean. He knew better than anyone the power of the ancient lizard ancestor. It was their strongest trump card, the lizard clan's ultimate secret weapon. But the opponent's strength was simply overwhelming. A godly monarch truly was untouchable. Suzimo seemed bored. He raised his hand and pressed down with world-shattering force. The ancient lizard ancestor let out a terrified roar, but before it could resist, it was crushed under a single palm. As the giant hand descended, the 4 lizard Empyreans immediately dropped to their knees, clutching their heads and shouting, "Mercy, Lord Godly Monarch!" Chapter 688, Truth of the Lizard Race. Seeing the 4 elders begging for mercy, Suzumo chuckled and said, "What's wrong? Not fighting anymore? We are too weak, like mayflies trying to shake a tree. We overestimated ourselves. We admit defeat." The blue-robed elder shook his head and sighed. "Bring it out." Suzumo waved impatiently. "The item is here." With a wave of his hands, the illusion formation covering the mountaintop was lifted. There were no noticeable changes across the mountain peak, except at the very center where a massive boulder stood upright. The boulder was about 10 meters tall, with a thick and solid surface, half black and half white. A powerful force could be felt within it, so strong that even Suzumo was slightly moved. Unfortunately, the surface stone layer sealed off that power, preventing it from leaking out or being absorbed by others. However, on one side of the boulder there was a small crack. The energy inside was slowly seeping out through the crack, and Suzumo could clearly sense that the power seeping out was the source of that mysterious mist. The very force he had been absorbing. "What is this thing?" Suzumo asked. "Reporting to Lord Godly Monarch, this is the Heaven-Earth Godstone," the blue-robed elder quickly replied. "Heaven-Earth Godstone? Explain," Suzumo said. The elders hesitated, glancing at one another. Then the yellow-robed elder said, "We're willing to explain its origin in full detail. May we ask if Lord will spare our race? If it's useful, I might consider it." Suzumo nodded. The elders exchanged glances again. The blue-robed elder stepped forward and asked, "What does Lord wish to know?" "Its origin," Suzumo answered. "My lord is likely familiar with the Immortal Tao Bridge. It said that for godly monarchs like yourself, this world is the peak. If one wishes to go further, they must cross the Immortal Tao Bridge to reach a broader, higher world." The blue-robed elder began. "I know about that," Suzumo nodded. "Around 10,000 years ago, between our eternal lands and the world beyond the Immortal Tao Bridge, a rift appeared. My lord may have heard of this," the blue-robed elder continued. "This rift not only allowed our people to cross to the other world, but also let beings from that world enter ours." "The outer heavens?" Suzumo muttered and asked, "Have you seen anyone from that world?" In his view, whether it was the eternal lands or the primordial heartlands, they were all minor worlds. Only the supreme outer heavens was the true great world, a place even grand emperors would seek. "We are weak. Back then, we hadn't even become grand Empyreans. How could we have had the qualifications to meet such beings?" The blue-robed elder shook his head. "But from what I know, the beings of that world are unimaginably powerful. Even godly monarchs are mere ants to them." "And then," Suzumo frowned and asked, "those beings tried to conquer the eternal lands. We fought for centuries, and our side was steadily losing ground. At that time, the eternal godly monarch risked his life to seal the rift. Without reinforcements from the other side, we eventually pushed back and defeated the invaders." The blue-robed elder continued, "And the item the eternal godly monarch used to patch the sky and seal the rift was this Heaven-Earth Godstone. Then how did it end up in your hands?" Suzumo asked. "Did you dare steal something from the eternal godly monarch?" "That's naturally impossible. The Heaven-Earth Godstone was formed from the energy of heaven and earth, containing the might of the cosmos itself. After the eternal godly monarch sealed the rift, half of the stone remained. At the time, the godly monarch was heavily wounded and could barely escape with his life, fleeing to heal. The remaining piece of the divine stone drifted through the endless void and happened to fall into our lizard race's particle world. You could call it fate," the blue-robed elder said with a smile. "And what does this have to do with the strange Meridian Sutra and the Black Dragon King?" Suzumo asked. "Strange Meridian Sutra?" The blue-robed elder paused, then realized and said, "You mean that cultivation method that absorbs the divine energy of heaven and earth?" "Yes," Su Zimo nodded. Back when the divine stone fell atop the snow mountain, we were not yet elders. The previous generation of elders tried every means to absorb its power. As you know, the lifelong dream of our lizard race is to transform into dragons. According to their research, if we could open the divine stone and absorb its power, our entire race might be able to transform into dragons, the blue-robed elder explained. But the stone was tougher than expected. No matter what we tried, brute force was useless. By then, the elders had already become grand Empyreans, possessing long lifespans. Living for thousands more years wasn't a problem. Yet they chose to sacrifice themselves in a blood ritual for the future of the race, hoping to break the stone's defenses. At this point, all 4 elders looked somber. After a brief silence, the blue-robed elder continued. The elders died, and we 4 became the new ones, leading our respective races. Even with their sacrifice, we underestimated the stone's defenses. The outer layer wasn't broken. Only a small crack was formed. The mist in the misty forest came from that crack? Su Zimo asked. Yes, though only a trickle of energy seeped out, it was enough to make us ecstatic. But when we tried to absorb it, we realized it wasn't easy. The energy accumulated and nearly blocked our meridians, the blue-robed elder said. Later, through experimentation, we found that the human body is extremely mysterious. Though the meridians resisted this energy, some parts of the body could absorb it well. After long research, we created what you now call the Strange Meridian Sutra. What you said seems different from what I know. The Black Dragon rules this world. You couldn't possibly be unaware of that, Su Zimo asked. The previous generation of elders once found a severely wounded black dragon during a trip. They brought it back and healed it, only to discover it was pregnant. Not long after the baby black dragon was born, its mother died. At the time, we were studying how to absorb the divine stone's energy. The mother dragon took human form and willingly offered herself as a test subject to help us, the blue-robed elder said regretfully. Chapter 689, Obtaining the Heaven-Earth Godstone. Although we developed the so-called 36 strange meridians, the black dragon's mother suffered greatly as an experimental subject. We made many mistakes along the way, and in the end, her body was severely damaged. The elder in the blue robe sighed. The current Black Dragon King was raised by us. Everything it does is under our direction. Why did you want the Black Dragon to rule this world? I don't really understand. Su Zimo shook his head. You know that humans have always looked down on our lizard race. The lizard heart can fetch a high price in the outside world. Even worse, some humans bribed our kind, and some lizards even betrayed us and provided intelligence to the humans. The blue-robed elder said angrily. The Heaven-Earth Godstone has always been a great secret within our race. It concerns our future. Aside from the 4 elders and the Black Dragon, no other race's men know about it. Thousands of years ago, a traitorous lizard came here secretly and stole the cultivation technique we created, namely, the Strange Meridian Sutra, and eventually escaped. That's how you humans obtained it. Otherwise, the technique would never have been leaked. That incident enraged us greatly, and we decided to seal off this particle world until we could decipher the Heaven-Earth Godstone. That's right, the red-robed elder continued. But the order to seal off the particle world was met with opposition from many lizards. They didn't want to live like frogs in a well, cut off from the outside world. We feared that those lizards might leak the existence of the Heaven-Earth Godstone to the humans. That would bring serious trouble. But as patriarchs, we couldn't just kill the dissenters. That would have caused public outrage and panic. So we came up with the Black Dragon King plan. It would rule this world on the surface, while we remained in control from the shadows. Hearing this, Green Yun looked incredulous. The pain and suffering of the lizard race over 1,000 years had actually been orchestrated by the race elders themselves. Do you know how the lizards have lived all these years? Green Yun shouted angrily. I know. It's true the black dragon sometimes forced you to gather purple wisteria flowers for its appetite. And some black dragon guards abused their power for personal gain. But we've tried to restrain those behaviors. Overall, as long as you obeyed the black dragon's orders, You would not be harmed. The green-robed elder shook his head and replied, For the future of the race, this was the only path. Once the Heaven-Earth Godstone is unlocked, our race will rise. Every one of you can transform into dragons. All the suffering will eventually be worth it. At this point, the green-robed elder looked a bit downcast. He looked at Su Zimo. Everything had been going according to plan, but it was all ruined by Su Zimo's arrival. The race had poured immense effort into the Heaven-Earth Godstone, but in the end, it might become someone else's prize. What about Big Brother Wrathful? What did you do to him? Green Yun asked loudly. The man from 1,000 years ago? The green-robed elder replied. He was an anomaly. Of course we couldn't let him leave. He's imprisoned in the human tower. You can go see him. We haven't really kept track of whether he's alive or dead. Then the green-robed elder looked at Su Zimo and said, Godly monarch, we've told you everything truthfully and without hiding anything. Can you spare our lives? I might spare the lizard race, since they didn't offend me. But you 4 old bastards, I still have to kill. Su Zimo said lightly, waving his hand. You're going back on your word. The yellow-robed elder shouted with a change of expression. As a godly monarch, your words should be law. Your promises should be binding. How can you go back on them? The blue-robed elder said anxiously. When did I promise anything? I only said I'd consider it. Su Zimo shook his head. He dropped his right hand, and divine might surged forth like a tidal wave, crushing everything beneath it. Wait, we know how to unlock the Heaven-Earth Godstone. If you kill us, you'll never obtain it. The blue-robed elder shouted quickly. A bunch of useless trash. You've had 10,000 years and still haven't figured it out. Even without you, I can do it myself, Su Zimo said coldly. As his giant hand fell, the entire snow mountain was almost flattened. With Su Zimo's power, he could have completely annihilated the 4 elders, leaving not even ashes. But since he needed to fuse with the lizard hearts, he couldn't kill them too cleanly. He held back a bit, simply pinning the 4 of them to the ground, unable to move. All the yellow lizards on the ground knelt in fear when they saw this, trembling as they looked at Su Zimo. At this moment, the Black Panther and Black Python had already been killed, and the Black Dragon King lay badly injured on the side of the snow mountain. Su Zimo walked over slowly, looked at the yellow-robed elder, and directly dug out his heart. Devil! You're a devil! The yellow-robed elder shouted in agony. After extracting the yellow lizard heart, Su Zimo approached the blue-robed elder. The blue-robed elder was clearly calmer. He looked at Su Zimo and said, We admit defeat, but before I die, could you tell me your name, so I can die knowing who defeated me? My name? Su Zimo shook his head and said, I have no name, just a godly monarch. If I'm not an emperor, why would I need a name? Emperor? Is that a higher existence? The blue-robed elder asked longingly. As Su Zimo dug out his heart, he nodded. He placed the 2 hearts together with the previously fused fire lizard heart and came before the Heaven-Earth Godstone. Unlocking the 36 strange meridians had been incredibly difficult, but the appearance of the Heaven-Earth Godstone gave him hope. But first, he had to completely break through the outer stone layer. With a wave of his right hand, the power of creation surged through his body like a rushing river, carrying the Heaven-Earth Godstone into his God world. At first, the divine stone resisted, but in the face of overwhelming power, it gradually began to move, flying into Su Zimo's divine continent. As the Heaven-Earth Godstone entered, Su Zimo summoned the primordial chaos bead. The primordial chaos bead flew slowly from the depths of the endless void, traversing countless ages. It circled around the Heaven-Earth Godstone once, then a beam of colorless, void-like light shone from it. The light fell upon the Heaven-Earth Godstone. Sensing this power, the once dormant divine stone finally stirred. It began to tremble. A low rumbling came from within as the outer stone layer started to flake off. As the layers peeled away, the entire stone shook more violently. Brilliant light began to seep out from within.
Chapter 690 Godstone và Lyrak Hớt.
As the surface of the Heaven-Earth Godstone began to crack, the primordial chaos bead spun faster and faster. It surpassed time and space, as if transcending fate and the grand Tao. Time accelerated infinitely. The surrounding void expanded continuously in destruction and rebirth. No one knew how much time had passed. It could have been a single instant or a span as vast as an ancient era. Cracking sounds echoed as fissures covered the surface of the Heaven-Earth Godstone's outer layer. Finally, with a loud boom, dust settled, the stone layer shattered, and the entire world shook. A beam of light shot straight into the sky, piercing through the clouds, breaking through the winds and waves, and surging into the heavens. After the stone layer broke, the Heaven-Earth Godstone was actually not very large, about 1 meter in diameter. It radiated a dazzling golden light, and within the golden glow, black and white beams of light intertwined and merged. In the God world, Su Zimo had previously thrown the Void Spirit Monkey into it, and later it was picked up by some of the natives. When he retrieved the Void Spirit Monkey, he gave those natives a book. That book recorded detailed information on written language and some knowledge about herding and planting. They had fixed residences and had started using fire, raising livestock, and solving their food problems. Though still difficult, progress had begun to show. Surviving had become possible. At this moment, when the golden light of the Heaven-Earth Godstone shone across the world, nearly all creatures on the continent could see it. Seeing such a phenomenon was like when they had first encountered wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. They marveled at nature's miraculous work. Some imaginative individuals had already begun envisioning myths and legends. With the birth of one mythological story, people's interest was sparked, and a series of legendary tales began to emerge from imagination. This world now had the earliest forms of ghost and deity legends. Meanwhile, Su Zimo felt the power of the Heaven-Earth Godstone. The energy had completely spread out. Even just breathing in front of it brought a sense of sudden clarity, as if every cell in the body was stretching open in bliss. Because of this power, the strange meridians in his body surged with divine energy, flowing like a mighty river, endlessly rushing through him. The 11th strange meridian had been opened. Su Zimo sat in front of the Heaven-Earth Godstone and absorbed energy for dozens of days. During those days, every breath he took opened every pore in his body, and divine energy continued pouring in. Crackling sounds came from within him frequently. With each breath, the mist he exhaled was like a long dragon rising and falling. Su Zimo's skin grew increasingly white. As more strange meridians were unlocked, he felt his control over his body grow more precise. It was as though he could now clearly master the power within. 12th meridian, 13th meridian, 14th meridian. Until one afternoon, dozens of days later, the sun on the God world began to soften. The sunset drifted westward. Under the evening glow, lone birds flew and fallen leaves danced. A misty fog had enveloped Su Zimo, and the divine power wrapped him completely. The Heaven-Earth Godstone had shrunk by about 1/10 of its original size. A rumbling explosion came from within Su Zimo. Before long, he suddenly opened his eyes. With a bang, it was as if a shackle inside him had broken. The 15th strange meridian, specifically the 3rd major strange meridian, the solar chakra, was opened. A vortex of divine power began to condense in his abdomen. Su Zimo stood up and stretched his body. Crackling sounds echoed again. At this moment, it wasn't just an increase in strength. Even the power vortexes of his heaven-shattering force began to condense more within him. After stepping into the godly monarch realm, he had reached the pinnacle humans could touch. Whether he would become a grand emperor or ascend directly into immortality, both were gateways to another realm. The foundation was extremely important. Su Zimo felt it was necessary to look into the detailed transformations that occurred after becoming a godly monarch. After all, this was something he couldn't explore in his previous life. He looked at the Heaven-Earth Godstone in front of him and sank it into the depths of the void together with the primordial chaos bead. He planned to take it out again in his next cultivation session. Though unlocking the 36 strange meridians seemed promising, it still had to be done step by step. It would be better to first open one major chakra, become familiar with the power, and accumulate some experience before continuing. Leaving the god world, Su Zimo's figure reappeared on the snow mountain. The 4 lizard race patriarchs had already been killed, and the Black Dragon King had been devoured by twin dragons of ice and fire. As for the remaining yellow lizards, since they were of no use, Su Zimo simply let them go. Now only he and Green Yun remained on the snow mountain. Green Yun sat on the ground in a daze. Everything that had happened today had shattered her worldview. After all, the true masterminds were the elders of her own race. The blow was heavy. Su Zimo didn't concern himself with her. He directly condensed the yellow lizard heart and the previously fused fire lizard heart. Following the same process as before, he began forming seals. Compared to the fusion of the fire lizard heart, the jade lizard heart was clearly more difficult. Not only was the process more complex, but the struggle and violence of the 2 lizard hearts was far stronger, and the consumption of fusion stones was exponentially higher. Fortunately, Su Zimo's cultivation level was high enough to easily suppress them. After an entire night, the jade lizard heart fusion was finally complete. Next, he took out the blue lizard heart. The blue lizard heart required a lizard of at least 10,000 years old, and it was lucky that Su Zimo had encountered these elders. Ordinary blue lizards wouldn't have sufficed. Once the blue lizard heart was fused, he could obtain the beginner stage light red lizard heart. Afterward, by roasting it with dragon fire, it would become the blood lizard heart. Su Zimo found that the fusion process consumed far more fusion stones than expected. Luckily, he had won enough during the arena matches earlier. The fusion of the blue lizard heart was even harder, increasing exponentially in difficulty. After several days and nights of careful effort, the mist on the surface of the fusion stone cleared, and a brand new, light red heart emerged. Inside the heart, the image of a lizard was roaring. This lizard resembled an ancient lizard elder, but much smaller in size and paler in color. The entire heart thumped rhythmically, thump, 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 as if it were a living being. Even though it wasn't yet a true blood lizard heart, Su Zimo could already sense the immense power contained within. He put away the light red heart and slowly walked toward Green Yun. Chapter 691 Completion. Get up, Su Zimo said. What for? Green Yun raised her head in a daze, her eyes vacant as she looked at Su Zimo. We're going to find the divine dragon fire, and while we're at it, save your big brother Wrathful, Su Zimo said. What's there to be so despondent about? It said the 4 elders were killed by the black dragon, so to the public, they're already dead. The rest of the race doesn't know the truth. The lizard race can start over. There's no need to hold onto things that shouldn't be held onto. Start over. After a long while, Green Yun's gaze began to regain its light. She looked at Su Zimo, murmuring. Let's go to the human tower, Su Zimo said. Green Yun stood up and followed closely behind Su Zimo. Since the Black Dragon King was dead, Su Zimo wasn't worried about alerting anyone. He summoned the dragon god, and he and Green Yun sat atop its back, heading toward the territory of the blue lizards, to the human tower. The dragon god flew through the clouds, its roars echoing, riding the mist. Strong winds blew from both sides, lifting the long hair on Green Yun's forehead. Her mind finally began to clear. After staring at Su Zimo for a while, she suddenly asked, Can you stay? What? Did you fall for me? Su Zimo joked. If you could lead our lizard tribe, I believe you'd achieve something great, Green Yun said. Better not. Your temple is too small to hold a Buddha like me. Su Zimo laughed. Hearing Su Zimo's words, Green Yun nodded absent-mindedly and said, True. After all, you're already a godly monarch. Isn't there wrathful lord? I believe he's up to the task. Su Zimo smiled. Big brother Wrathful's life or death is still unknown. Sigh. Green Yun sighed softly. Wanting Su Zimo to stay wasn't just for the tribe. How could she not also have her own selfish reasons? The two sat on the dragon god's back. It was incredibly fast, crossing dozens of kilometers in just a few flashes. About half an hour later, the dragon god finally stopped above a city. The architecture of the city was interesting. It was built in the shape of a pentagram. This was also where the blue lizards lived. 5 wide city gates connected together, looking like 5 cities arranged in a 5-pointed star. At the center of the star stood a towering structure, about 1,000 meters tall. The black tower stood upright on the earth, entirely dark in color, with 17 floors. The tip was sharp, and below it, hundreds of meters down, blue lizards were patrolling. Seeing this, Su Zimo smiled in the air and said, "Seems like only your green lizards and red lizards had it rough. The others all had their roles." Green Yun's eyes darkened, and she remained silent. With a dragon roar, the dragon god descended with majestic might. The blue lizards below immediately noticed something strange. When they looked up, they froze at the sight of the massive dragon. "Dr. Dragon," someone stammered. Some of the blue lizards were stunned in place. Others dropped to their knees. Dragons held immense reverence and awe for the lizard race. Su Zimo and Green Yun dismounted the dragon god. Su Zimo grabbed one nearby blue lizard and asked, "Where's Wrathful Lord being held?" "Wrathful who?" The blue lizard was terrified and confused. "A human was imprisoned here 1,000 years ago." "You don't know?" Green Yun asked with a frown. Humans are all on the 16th floor," the blue lizard quickly replied. As the two disappeared into the human tower, the blue lizard hadn't even finished saying, "You can't go in," when a flying blade strike killed him instantly. Inside the human tower, Su Zimo found the interior extremely dark, like a prison. It was used entirely for locking up intruders from outside. Most of them were humans. The air was filled with a rotting stench and a damp, cold chill. Anyone imprisoned here would receive no care, just wait to die. When hungry, they could only cannibalize each other, eating those who were thrown in with them. Su Zimo saw many corpses inside. Even though a long time had passed, the enclosed air still made the smell unbearable. The two quickly passed through the first floor. Each floor was separated by 100 meters, and all used teleportation arrays. When Su Zimo and Green Yun reached the 16th floor, the space was not very large. In front of them were rows of crucifixes, with corpses tied to them. It seemed they had been tortured severely. "Your lizard race even has places like this," Su Zimo said with a smile. "I didn't know either," Green Yun replied gloomily. "Search around here, see if Wrathful Lord is among them," Su Zimo said. He didn't help with the search. Instead, he took the teleportation array to the 17th floor, the top level. This was where the divine dragonfire was located. The final step in creating the blood lizard heart was refining it with the divine dragonfire. This divine dragonfire was different from the fire spat by the dragon gods in the god world. This was the innate true flame of a fire element dragon god, which only had a small chance of appearing after its death. With its refining, the blood lizard heart would gain divinity. Upon reaching the 17th floor, Su Zimo found the space much brighter. It wasn't very big. At the front platform, a golden flame burned fiercely. The fire constantly shifted in shape, sometimes soaring through the skies, sometimes roaring like a dragon. Su Zimo walked over and waved his right hand, directly suppressing the flame. He placed the light red lizard heart into the fire, carefully controlling the flame's temperature to slowly refine the heart. This was a long process. Under the golden flame's refinement, the heart became more and more solid. Su Zimo no longer paid attention to the heart and instead returned to the 16th floor. Among the many corpses, he saw Green Yun holding one that was covered in blood and wounds, calling out non-stop. Su Zimo walked over slowly and said, "Let me take a look." He placed both hands on the corpse's chest. Though the body had been tortured beyond recognition, Su Zimo still sensed faint breathing. The tree of life within his body began to stir, and Su Zimo poured waves of life energy into the corpse. As long as the person wasn't truly dead, with the tree of life, Su Zimo could heal nearly anyone. As the life energy entered, the body began to change slowly. The wounds on his body started to close. Can he still be saved? Green Yun asked with hope. The next moment, just as she finished her sentence, the corpse's fingers suddenly twitched. Those tightly shut eyes slowly opened, as if seeing the light again, filled with deep weariness. Big Brother Wrathful, do you remember me? Are you okay? Green Yun asked quickly. Chapter 692 Dragons Arrive. The corpse opened its eyes and stared at Green Yun for a while before finally speaking with cracked lips. Little Yun, where is this place? This is the human tower. I came to save you, Green Yun said quickly. Go, we have to go quickly. If they find us. Wrathful Lord's eyes sharpened and he urged hastily. It's okay. The elders and the black dragon are all dead. There's no more danger. Green Yun interrupted him. All dead? That's good. Wrathful Lord finally let out a sigh of relief and lay on the ground, beginning to heal on his own. You take care of him, Su Zimo said after reviving Wrathful Lord, then returned to the 17th floor. The light red heart flickered within the flames. The sound of its heartbeat, thump, 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 echoing as if a real life was being born. The incubation time for the blood lizard heart exceeded Su Zimo's expectations. Took a full month. Only then did the heart stabilize under the refinement of the divine dragon fire, and its color began shifting from light red to blood red. Its surface was entirely crimson, as though it had just been freshly plucked from a body. Purple blood vessels and patterns were clearly visible. Su Zimo stored the heart away, then took Green Yun and Wrathful Lord and left the human tower. On the way, Wrathful Lord expressed his thanks to Su Zimo. I should be leaving too, Su Zimo said with a smile. Brother, are you returning to the human realm? Wrathful Lord asked. Yes. Want to come with me? Su Zimo replied. I think not. I want to go see Chinger. Maybe I'll stay here afterward. Wrathful Lord smiled and shook his head. After sending the two back to the Green Lizard Village, Su Zimo didn't say much more. He used his absolute power to tear open the small world's barrier, and his figure gradually disappeared within it. Watching Su Zimo's fading figure, Green Yun's eyes trembled slightly. Sometimes, you have to say it if you like someone, Wrathful Lord said with a smile from the side. Big Brother Wrathful, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Green Yun quickly looked away, flustered and lowering her head. Some people, once lost, will never appear again. You missed your chance, Wrathful Lord said. I know, Green Yun replied, her mood turning somber. But even if I said it, so what? Do you think he would stay for someone? On an autumn afternoon, the wind was cool. At the location of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect, layers of formations enveloped the entire sect. Endless spirit force gathered toward the formations. At the center, mist swirled, dragons roared and tigers growled. It was clearly extraordinary. The outer elders all wore solemn expressions, not daring to relax even slightly, because no one knew when those two dragon gods would return. The entire World Sovereign Empyrean sect was in a state of high alert. In the sect's main hall, many elders had gathered. Sect Master Zhang Tianlin tapped the side of his chair with his index finger, a glint flashing in his eyes as he asked, How long has it been since the top disciples left the sect to search for the blood lizard heart? Reporting to the sect master, it's been over 2 months. An elder replied quickly. That long? Either they ran into trouble or they're all dead, Zhang Tianlin said with a frown. It's unclear for now. We can only send someone to Wrathful Lord City to see if there's any news. Red King Huang Fuxian replied from below. But those two dragons haven't appeared during this time. Maybe it's over.
No.
Until the blood lizard heart arrives, we cannot let our guard down. Zhang Tianlin shook his head and said. As everyone was discussing, 2 high-pitched dragon roars suddenly echoed from the distance. They're here. The elder's expressions changed drastically. Zhang Tianlin abruptly stood up, his gaze sharp as he looked outside. In the skies above the World Sovereign Empyrean sect, 1 ice and 1 fire dragon soared into the air. Red flames burned fiercely, mixing with icy blue frost. The fusion of fire and ice lit up half the sky. The two dragons swung their tails, smashing heavily onto the defensive formation. With a loud boom, the formation shook violently, and cracks began to appear on its surface. "This won't do. Our formation can't hold much longer," said the Realm King heavily upon seeing this. "Follow me to face the enemy," Zhang Tianlin said calmly. "First, pour your energy into the formation. Try to stabilize it." All the elders of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect sat cross-legged. No one dared to hold back. They poured all their spirit force into the defensive formation. Because each person's spirit force had a different attribute, as everyone activated their techniques simultaneously, the spirit force in the sky appeared in a rainbow of colors. Massive spirit force flooded into the formation, and the cracks on its surface began to mend. The two dragons above seemed enraged. With a furious roar, their massive bodies coiled in the sky. Clouds thickened, thunder and lightning filled the heavens. The red dragon god bared its fangs, and a fireball, so hot it seemed to melt the void, formed in its mouth. As the fireball appeared, the red dragon god's pupils contracted vertically, and its entire body radiated overwhelming dragon might. Waves of dragon flame surged from its body, and the fireball absorbed this flame, rapidly growing dozens of times larger. Then the dragon wrapped its tail around the fireball and hurled it down with great force. Watching the fireball descend like a blazing sun, everyone within the formation changed expressions in horror. Even from far away, they could feel the searing heat. When the fireball crashed into the defensive formation like a meteor, a deafening explosion rang out, threatening to rupture their eardrums. A wave of intense heat spread outward. The cracks on the formation grew even denser. Below, the elders all looked grave, doing everything they could to resist. "I can't hold on," someone shouted in anguish. Moments later, one elder's body burst into flames and was reduced to ashes. The others were shocked and dared not act recklessly. Anyone who sensed danger quickly retreated. "Give up the formation. Everyone, fall back with me to face the two evil dragons directly," Zhang Tianlin ordered upon seeing the formation about to collapse. Once everyone retreated, the unsupported formation didn't last a moment and was immediately breached. The fireball fell from the sky, as if about to devour the entire earth. Another explosion followed. The ground shook like an earthquake, the earth quaking and the sky trembling. The fireball crashed heavily onto the ground within the formation. Before Zhang Tianlin and the others could react, they saw the two dragons bypass them and soar toward the interior of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect. "What are they trying to do?" Zhang Tianlin frowned and ordered, "Don't stop them yet. Follow them." Chapter 693, The Item Inside the Wooden Box. Watching the two dragons give up attacking and head directly into the sect, Zhang Tianlin and the other elders were puzzled. As they followed closely behind, the dragons arrived in front of Goddess Mountain, where Huangfu Xianyue resided. With a flick of its tail, one of the dragons shattered the protective barrier over the mountain. "This?" The elders looked on, confused. "Who else is on Goddess Mountain?" Zhang Tianlin asked. "No one, right?" Huangfu Xianyue went to the misty forest, "So it's unoccupied now," an elder replied. "No. Did you all forget about Lin Qiu's companion?" Huangfu Xian said with a frown. "You mean that girl, right? Her name was Jiuyu." Zhang Tianlin nodded. "We kept her in the sect in case Lin Qiu didn't return. It's been a while since we last checked on her." Everyone had been busy dealing with the dragon situation, trying to find a solution, so no one had paid attention to the girl. Now, seeing the dragons heading here, they were naturally confused. When the blue dragon broke the barrier, its massive body slowly stopped on the mountain peak. Jiuyu stood at the summit, terrified by the giant dragon so close to her. The overwhelming dragon might filled the air, and its breath raged like a tornado. Seeing Jiuyu's fearful expression, the blue dragon turned its head and tapped its back with its claw. Jiuyu froze. Seeing that the dragon hadn't harmed her, she cautiously asked, "Do you want me to get on?" The blue dragon slightly nodded, its icy blue eyes showing no emotion. Dragons were proud creatures. Without Suzimo's command, they would never allow anyone to ride them. When Jiuyu carefully climbed onto the dragon's back, the two dragons roared toward the sky. Their massive bodies stirred a raging storm as they soared away toward the distant horizon. The people of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect were stunned. "They're leaving?" an elder asked in disbelief. "What else do you want? For them to destroy the sect before you're satisfied?" Zhang Tianlin snapped. "Sect master, this whole thing is strange," said Red King Huang Fuxian. "Someone is definitely pulling the strings. Clean up the sect for now and send people to investigate," Zhang Tianlin said. "The sect suffered great losses this time. I'm afraid other powers already know about it." After leaving the lizard race's world, Suzimo didn't waste any time. He headed straight toward Bright Flame City. He had obtained the blood lizard heart for a specific item in the Eternal First Shop. Though he didn't know exactly what was inside, Suzimo had his suspicions. While the southern region was vast, the distance between Fury City and Bright Flame City wasn't very far. Fury City was near the Nine Heavens Imperial Sect, especially close to the Misty Forest. Riding the Dark Sky Tiger, Suzimo arrived at Bright Flame City after about half a month. The city was as familiar as ever, with blazing flames burning atop its walls. At the city gate, Suzimo saw Jiuyu. She had been waiting there the whole time. When she saw Suzimo, her face showed shock. She stared for a while before finally saying, "You! What's wrong?" Suzimo smiled. "The incident at the World Sovereign Empyrean sect, was that all arranged by you, including those two dragons?" Jiuyu asked in shock. "Knowing too much isn't good for you. As long as you're safe, that's enough," Suzimo said, waving his hand. Jiuyu nodded and followed Suzimo into the city. She asked, "When are we going to the God-Demon battlefield?" "Today," Suzimo replied. "So soon?" Jiuyu was surprised. "What? Don't want to go?" No. Jiuyu quickly waved her hands. "Then let's go today." The two headed straight to the Eternal First Shop. Perhaps because the items were too expensive, there were very few customers. When Suzimo and Jiuyu arrived, they saw only two other people inside, an old woman and a young girl. The old woman looked extremely aged, holding a silver cane and wearing simple light blue clothes. Her hair was completely white, and her forehead was wrinkled. Her eyes were cloudy with age, and she needed the support of the young girl beside her just to walk. The girl wore a white long dress. At first glance, she looked delicate and refreshing like a spring breeze, with a particularly pleasant smile. The girl looked a few years younger than Suzimo and was supporting the old woman as they browsed the shop. Suzimo took a quick look and didn't pay much attention, then stepped inside. The previous shopkeeper was a puppet, only passively managing the shop. Now it was a real person, flesh and blood, clearly human. This shopkeeper looked exactly like the puppet version, the puppet technique flawless. "What are you looking for, sir?" the shopkeeper asked with a smile. Suzimo pointed to the wooden box above his head, something he had noticed previously. The wooden box was dark brown, covered in runes and seals as if something was being contained inside. The shopkeeper looked up at the box, then quickly flipped through a book on the table. After a moment, the shopkeeper smiled and said, "The lost treasure box has been here since the Eternal Shop opened. No one knows what's inside, but it contains a strong wood elemental energy. It requires a blood lizard heart to exchange." Suzimo didn't say anything more and directly took out the blood lizard heart. The shopkeeper's eyes lit up and said with a smile, "Impressive, sir. As far as I know, the fusion method has long been lost, especially with how dangerous the swamplands are. Why so much chatter? Just get the box down," Suzimo said, waving his hand. The wooden box was embedded in the dragon pillar at the center of the shop. The shopkeeper waved his hands. A white stream of spirit force shot from his hands, piercing a section of the pillar. The wooden box naturally fell down. The shopkeeper caught it with a red tray and presented it to Suzimo. As Suzimo took the box, He felt the wind-destroying pearl and soft-water pearl in his body trembling even more violently. Although the box was sealed, it seemed to be for protection rather than resisting Su Zimo's presence. When Su Zimo channeled spirit force into it, the seal disappeared. With a loud bang, the wooden shell shattered. Inside was a dark green bead. It exuded a rich aura of life. This life force didn't feel human, it was more like that of plants and trees. Second wood pearl, Su Zimo muttered. Chapter 694 People of the Underworld. The legend of the 5 spirit orbs had circulated across the primordial heartlands for a long time. It was said that when the 5 beads were gathered, they could even change the fate of the entire continent. Previously, Su Zimo had obtained the wind-destroying pearl and the soft-water pearl. Now this was the second wood pearl. Second wood represented endless life, the beginning and end of all things. Su Zimo had already guessed before that when the 2 beads in his body resonated, the item inside the box had to be related to the 5 spirit orbs. Though the Eternal Lands and the Primordial Heartlands were 2 different worlds, since he himself could come here, Su Zimo didn't believe that over such a long stretch of time, no one else from the Primordial Heartlands had ever made it here. If some ancient being had crossed over and brought one of the 5 spirit orbs, it wouldn't be strange. The moment the box opened and the rich aura of life spread out, the old woman beside them narrowed her cloudy eyes, staring at the box in Su Zimo's hands. "I want that box," the old woman suddenly said in a raspy voice. Su Zimo chuckled and looked at the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper smiled awkwardly at the old woman and said, "Ma'am, that box has already been sold to this honored guest. Please choose something else." "I want that box," the old woman insisted stubbornly. "This?" The shopkeeper shook his head slightly and said, "Please don't make it difficult for me. Kunlun is famed. I am Tsongshan. Heaven and earth shift, eternal and unyielding." The old woman murmured softly. Upon hearing those words, the shopkeeper's expression changed drastically. He stared at the old woman for a long time before asking, "May I ask who you are, senior?" "Bring me a pen," the old woman said. As soon as she finished speaking, a yellow scroll and a brush flew down from the air with a wave of the shopkeeper's right hand. The girl in the white dress quickly helped the old woman sit down. She picked up the pen and began writing something. After a while, the old woman folded the yellow scroll and handed it to the shopkeeper. He stepped to the side and glanced at the scroll. His pupils suddenly contracted. This? He muttered in shock, then took a deep breath and put the scroll away. "My apologies, senor. Please forgive the offense." The shopkeeper bowed deeply to the old woman, then turned to Su Zimo. He said, "Young master, I'm sorry. This box can no longer be sold to you. To make up for it, you may choose any item from this shop. It will be my gift to you." "Do I look like I need charity?" Su Zimo frowned. "I worked hard to obtain the blood lizard heart. And now you're telling me that something I already purchased must be taken back? What? Do you think I'm beneath you? As long as the item hasn't left the store, I still have authority over it." The shopkeeper smiled, then looked at Su Zimo and said, "I don't know who you are, but don't cause trouble here. You can't afford the consequences." "Oh," Su Zimo sneered, holding the second wood pearl in his hand. "The item's right here. Come take it." "Arrogant fool." The shopkeeper squinted his eyes and snorted coldly. His figure shifted rapidly, and he reached out with a large hand toward Su Zimo. The next moment, a beastly roar echoed from the void beside them. A massive paw from the dark sky tiger reached out of the void and swatted the shopkeeper away with a single strike. The dark sky tiger landed, its bloodshot eyes locked onto the shopkeeper, its roar shaking the void. His huge body nearly filled half the shop. "Beast!" the shopkeeper roared in fury. A powerful aura burst forth around him. Endless spirit force gathered above his head. A storm surged, and the entire shop began to tremble. In just a few breaths' time, a vast celestial sky condensed above him. It was a bizarre scene. The sky churned with clouds and storms, endless and grand. The pressure around the shopkeeper grew heavier. With the sky above and storm at his back, he charged at the dark sky tiger. Unfortunately, the Dark Sky Tiger was already at the peak of the Fusion Heaven realm. Su Zimo could tell the shopkeeper had only just entered Fusion Heaven. With a loud boom, the Dark Sky Tiger's claw ripped the celestial sky above the shopkeeper's head to pieces. The winds and clouds wailed. The shopkeeper flew backward, slamming heavily into the store's dragon pillar. Su Zimo looked over and saw the tiger's claws stained red. It was clearly injured. To be able to wound the Dark Sky Tiger despite a lower realm, the shopkeeper was quite formidable. "You dare defend the Tsang clan, you won't end well," the shopkeeper growled furiously. He struggled to stand, still trying to fight again, but his organs seemed to have been shattered. He could hardly move. "You're no match for it." "Let me," said the old woman at that moment. She walked forward slowly, silver cane in hand. "Grandma, be careful," the girl in the white dress said quickly. "It's nothing. Ninger, go stand aside. Don't get hurt by mistake." The old woman smiled. Her silver cane trembled slightly, and an immense aura burst forth from it. "Young man, I acted unfairly in this matter. I won't kill you, but I'll give you a small punishment," said the old woman. Dark spirit force began to gather around the silver cane, carried a cold and shadowy aura. As more and more energy flowed in, the image of a grand hall began to appear on the cane. A long, dark river flowed silently outside the hall, and ghostly howls echoed as twisted faces struggled above it. It looked like a vision of a real place reflected onto the cane. The hall was deep and dark, as if buried deep within the void, exuding the breath of death. "This is—" the shopkeeper muttered in shock. As expected, someone from the underworld sect. "Today I'll slay this beast to teach you a lesson." The old woman's eyes suddenly opened. No longer cloudy, they radiated a thick aura of death, as if 10,000 ghosts screamed within them, ready to crawl out at any moment. A chilling bloodlust surged. "Soul, come!" the old woman shouted. From the shadow of the grand hall on her cane, streams of death energy flowed out. The aura of death floated in midair and enveloped the Dark Sky Tiger. As the tiger howled in pain, it felt as though its soul was being pulled into the hall, tortured by unseen forces. "Interesting," Su Zimo smiled. "But old woman, you're at the end of your life. Instead of enjoying your twilight years, why stir up trouble outside?" He looked at the second wood pearl in his hand, flicked it gently, and the bead flew directly into the Dark Sky Tiger's mouth. The next moment, a rich aura of life spread throughout its body. Chapter 695, Journey to God Demon Battlefield. As the second wood pearl entered the body, the Dark Sky Tiger's entire form trembled violently. The death aura pulling at its soul was completely blocked outside its body. No matter how hard it tugged, it was useless. "What is that thing?" the old woman frowned. "Seems you're not up to much after all." Su Zimo laughed. With the death aura no longer restraining it, the Dark Sky Tiger quickly broke free and once again pounced toward the old woman. Its massive body surged forward with overwhelming beastly might. "Underworld River," the old woman called out softly. The river encircling the grand hall began to flow, suddenly expanding dozens of times. The black river was deep and murky, as if it buried all the world's sins. Thick and pitch black, the sound of the flowing water wrapped around the Dark Sky Tiger. The moment its claws touched the river, it felt a rotting aura and quickly withdrew its paw. "Underworld Seal," the old woman shouted again. The illusion of the ancient hall magnified, spinning in midair and releasing dark energy that enveloped the Dark Sky Tiger. Just as the old woman was about to breathe a sigh of relief, a figure suddenly appeared behind her and struck with a palm. With a loud boom, the palm contained immense divine power and overwhelming might. The old woman was sent flying, black blood spraying through the air. "Grandma!" The white-dressed girl beside her rushed over anxiously. "A sneak attack?" The old woman stood up, her gaze dark as she looked over. The attacker was Jiuyu. "You're down before I even acted. You're really that weak." Su Zimo shook his head. He hadn't instructed Jiuyu to sneak attack. Perhaps she was just worried for the Dark Sky Tiger's safety. "Despicable." The girl in the white dress scoffed coldly. What? Did you expect me to lay out a ring and challenge you to a fair duel? Suzimo said with a grin. The girl didn't respond and turned to check on the old woman, asking with concern, Grandma, are you okay? The old woman shook her head and stood up again, eyes locked on Suzimo. You are far too arrogant, young one. Dark gray spirit force surged around her once more, and the misty grand hall in her hand enveloped Suzimo. Seeing the hall magnify dozens of times and approach him, Suzimo just smiled. He raised his hand and slapped forward. With a loud boom, the hall shattered into pieces. The entire shop trembled, and the old woman's face turned pale as she vomited another mouthful of blood. You? She stared at Suzimo in shock. A mere half-Empyrean dares to challenge me? Who gave you the confidence? Suzimo stepped forward. He walked up to the old woman and smacked her across the face. Her body was sent flying again. You want the second wood pearl? I gave you a chance, you weren't good enough. Suzimo shook his head. The dark sky tiger immediately charged forward and stomped down with its claw, crushing the old woman's body into pulp. You killed someone from the underworld. The shopkeeper's expression changed drastically as he shouted at Suzimo. So what? I can't. Suzimo replied with a smile. You're finished. She was a direct descendant of the underworld godly monarch. If the underworld finds out, no one will be able to save you. The shopkeeper backed away in fear. You think I need someone to save me? A mere godly monarch's descendant dares act arrogant? I've already killed plenty of emperor descendants, Suzimo said, waving his hand. Don't worry, you'll be joining her soon. No need to look so shocked. If you kill me, the Tsang clan won't let you go, no matter how deep you hide. The shopkeeper quickly said, How about we make a deal? Let me live, and I promise no retaliation. I'll even keep this whole matter secret. No need. You're not someone I can trust. Suzimo shook his head. As soon as he finished speaking, he stomped down hard with his right foot. With a loud bang, a pained scream echoed out, and blood splattered across half the wall. Suzimo turned to look at everything inside the shop. He shook his head and sighed. Seriously, I just wanted a wooden box, and they insisted on giving me everything. Not that I'm complaining. With a wave of his right hand, he stored everything in the shop into his god world. In the blink of an eye, the entire room was empty. What about her? Jiuyu pointed to the white-dressed girl, who was nearly scared senseless. Suzimo looked at her delicate face and shook his head. Too innocent. I can't do it. He patted Jiuyu's shoulder and said with a light smile, I'll leave her to you. After all, when you pull the weeds, you have to get the roots too. As Suzimo walked out of the shop, Jiuyu gritted her teeth in frustration. The doors of the Eternal First shop closed, never to open again. Suzimo and Jiuyu didn't stay long in Bright Flame City and headed straight toward the God Demon battlefield. Once they were far from the city, the void above the shop began to ripple. Two figures, one large and one small, emerged. The small figure looked at the wrecked shop and asked, Master, why didn't you act earlier? I couldn't see through that young man. The larger figure replied with a sigh and shake of the head. So what now? The shop's destroyed, our people are dead, and the underworld will definitely blame us. She was the underworld godly monarch's direct descendant, the smaller figure asked. Notify the underworld. We're returning to the clan. Something big is about to happen, the large figure said before disappearing into the void again. The God Demon battlefield was located at the border between the southern and western regions. In the ancient era ruled by gods and demons, this was once the battleground between the two races. Even after the two races disappeared, it remained one of the most dangerous places on the Eternal Continent. Many humans still ventured here, seeking traces of the ancient God-demon era and hoping to find lost relics. Discussions and explorations around gods and demons had never ceased, from ancient times to the present. Some remnants of the god and demon races still lived in hiding here. Among the 4 regions of the Eternal Lands, each had only one teleportation formation that led to the God-demon battlefield. The southern region's teleportation array was located within Eternal City, the main city under the control of the Eternal God sect. Only they had the authority to manage the array, as they were undoubtedly the overlords of the southern region. Su Zimo and Jiu Yu's destination was Eternal City. The two traveled through several cities using various teleportation formations and finally arrived at Eternal City a month later. This was the largest and most famous city in the entire southern region. The towering city stood upon the vast land, radiating an ancient and unshakable presence. Chapter 696, Eternal City, God Ascension Staircase. From afar, Eternal City stretched boundlessly vast beyond measure. It resembled a massive beast lying prone upon this desolate land. The city bustled with activity. The entire place was built of bluestone bricks and tiles. The ancient city walls, some newly rebuilt, others scarred with the marks of time, clearly hinted at their age. Back when the world on the other side of the immortal Tao Bridge invaded the Eternal Lands, Eternal City stood as the first line of defense, played a monumental role in that war. It said that battle nearly destroyed the entire city. When people rebuilt it, they preserved many ancient ruins. Su Zimo and Jiu Yu entered the city. The city was divided into 4 districts, each massive in scale. They entered from the North District. At the gate, guards in golden armor stood solemnly on both sides. On the towering city wall were just 2 characters, Eternal. The characters were bold and powerful, seemingly engraved into the wall itself, blending perfectly with the bluestone and green tiles, imbued with a sense of antiquity and grandeur. It said those words were personally inscribed by the eternal godly monarch. When the city was rebuilt, remnants of stone with those inscriptions were found among the ruins and pieced back together. Upon entering the city, the main road ahead was broad and smooth, wide enough to hold dozens of people walking side by side. People bustled about on the streets. Besides the shops lining both sides, special zones were allocated for vendors and hawkers to set up stalls. By this time, it was already late afternoon. The autumn dusk was dim, with no evening clouds or fiery skies, just the sun struggling to cast its final rays. Eternal City had strict regulations. Once the afternoon passed, the teleportation formation to the God-Demon battlefield would close. It would only reopen at dawn the next day. Since each region had only 1 teleportation formation to the battlefield, everyone from the entire southern region had to gather in Eternal City if they wanted to go. The North District of Eternal City was specifically designated for those heading to the God-Demon battlefield. Because of the sheer number of people, everyone had to line up and wait according to regulations. Su Zimo and Jiu Yu went to the North District to collect their identification plates. Their position, number 3015. With over 3,000 people ahead of them, and only 500 allowed through each day, Su Zimo would have to wait at least a week before he could go. The 2 of them found an inn in the North District. Although they were eager, there was no rushing this. Fortunately, Eternal City was vast and filled with things to do. They could explore while they waited. After collecting their ID plates and returning to the inn, night had already fallen. Su Zimo began cultivating in his room. For now, opening more strange meridians could wait. With 15 already opened, plus the power of heaven-shattering force, he was unmatched among godly monarchs of the same realm. Once he opened more meridians, he might even rival Zenith Immortals. Ordinary immortals held little interest for him. Back in the Slaughter God Tower, Su Zimo had obtained a powerful technique, the Great Dream Scripture. Slaughter God by Changfeng had cultivated it and ultimately perished after experiencing the changes of ages. Later, Su Zimo made Bai Changfeng the Lord of Hell in his God world, overseeing the 6 paths of reincarnation and the 18 levels of hell. Now, Su Zimo also wanted to try the Great Dream Scripture. Its power lay in its ability to temper the mind and allow immense time for refining battle techniques. But it was equally dangerous. One mistake could trap the user in a dream for 3,000 or even 30,000 years, ending in real death. A great dream lasting 3,000 years. I seek to sever all emotions. Su Zimo entered the river of time in the God world, using it to control the dream's timeline. He slowly closed his eyes and entered his dream world. Inside the dream, he simulated countless scenarios. A mortal's life through birth, age, illness, and death. A pampered young master's decadent life. The daily life of a great immortal. The endless search of a Tao seeker. Not only human lives, he simulated beasts, flowers, and trees. Inside the dream, Su Zimo's consciousness remained clear. He reviewed everything he had learned, reflected, and practiced. From the 19 forms of Tao seeking, to the war god's 9 transformations, to the 10 forms of demon from the previous infernal lord, and even the heaven-shattering God scripture, one of the 10 primordial God scriptures left behind by heaven's equal emperor. Step by step, he comprehended and practiced each. In this dream world, cultivation itself was meaningless. After all, it was still just a dream. Even if one reached immortal realm in the dream, waking up would return them to the same God vein stage. But understanding of battle techniques gained in the dream was very real. Though not quite 3,000 years, this dream did benefit Su Zimo greatly. Time was irrelevant in cultivation. Who knew how long had passed before Su Zimo slowly opened his eyes within the river of time. In that moment, his gaze was deep and ancient, as if he had witnessed countless eras and seen through the illusions of the world. When he emerged from the God world, only a single night had passed in the real world. Dawn had just broken, and the insights from his dream began feeding back into his mind. This kind of training had to be spaced out. Doing it too often could easily lead to a fractured personality. After summarizing his current strength, Su Zimo left his room and headed to the first floor of the inn. Jiuyu had already ordered breakfast. They found a window seat and sat down. I heard there are several interesting places in Eternal City. If you're free after breakfast, let's go check them out, Jiuyu suggested. Sure. We'll be here for about 6 days anyway. Su Zimo nodded. After breakfast, they left the North District and headed to the East District. There stood the famous God Ascension Staircase. Legend says that during the God-Demon era, when the eternal godly monarch had just ascended to the godly monarch realm, he personally erected this staircase in Eternal City. Anyone who reached the top would meet a remnant projection left by the eternal godly monarch. What benefits this projection offered? No one knew for certain, but rumors abounded. In any case, meeting a godly monarch was already a lifelong dream for many. Unfortunately, the God Ascension Staircase had stood for countless generations, yet no one, whether from the eternal divine sect or outsiders, had ever reached the top. Over time, the staircase became one of Eternal City's most iconic landmarks. Everyone who came to Eternal City would try it at least once. When Su Zimo and Jiuyu arrived, the area was already packed with people. Straight ahead stood a towering golden staircase, reaching into the clouds. Chapter 697, The Divine Ranking. The God Ascension Staircase was one of the most famous landmarks in Eternal City. Whether day or night, the golden staircase radiated a steady golden glow. It had a total of 9 levels. Though only 9 levels, looking up from the base, the top was nowhere in sight. People frequently came to challenge it, locals and visitors alike, forming long lines that looped around the plaza several times. All around, onlookers gathered in droves, while street vendors shouted energetically to attract customers. Su Zimo glanced at the staircase, but he couldn't see what was inside. The staircase was sealed off by walls of dark gold that glowed faintly with divine energy. It stood on a vast plaza, with fountains spraying water and flowers blooming in every corner. Statues of Eternal City's ancestors stood tall and proud around the square. Want to give it a try? Jiuyu asked eagerly, eyes shining with excitement. You want to meet the eternal godly monarch's spirit too? Su Zimo chuckled. Not exactly. I'm just curious about what's so magical about this staircase, Jiuyu replied. I already asked around yesterday. The God Ascension Staircase is completely fair. It adjusts the difficulty based on the challenger's cultivation, so the higher your cultivation doesn't mean it's easier. The staircase was managed by disciples of the Eternal God sect. Next to it were number dispensers. After Jiuyu got her number, she joined the long line. Su Zimo, however, wasn't in a rush and stood to the side watching. Initially, most of the crowd watched quietly. But when the line reached a certain young man, the crowd stirred. That's Yu Luan. He's trying again. Let's see how far he gets this time. That guy's no joke. He's lived in Eternal City for 3 years. I saw him go from level 3 to level 6 with my own eyes. Think he'll make it to the 7th level today? Only the godchild of the Eternal God sect ever reached that. As people discussed, Su Zimo turned his head to look. At the staircase entrance stood a young man in black. His posture was upright like a spear. His eyes were sharp, and on the inside of both arms were 2 short blades. His clothes were specially tailored with sleeves that could hold the short blades, perfect for surprise attacks. He stood there at the base of the staircase, exuding a powerful aura that made him stand out. As Yu Luan stepped into the staircase, the dark golden walls of the first level lit up immediately. One hit clear. That was fast, someone exclaimed. I took over 10 minutes to clear the first level. To guys like him, the early stages are nothing. The real test is later. Soon after, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th levels lit up in quick succession. He took a little more time on the 5th, and by the 6th the crowd held their breath. This was where Yu Luan had always been stopped before. Finally, after the time it took to burn 1 incense stick, the dark golden wall of the 6th level began to glow. He made it! He passed level 6! Someone shouted. Just as the voice faded, Yu Luan's figure was transported back to the base of the staircase. Unlike before, his face was pale, and a trace of blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. Why's he back? Someone asked in confusion. He clearly cleared the 6th level. If someone attempts the 7th and gets instantly defeated, the staircase ejects them immediately, someone else explained. Yu Luan sat down nearby, meditating to recover. Suddenly someone yelled, Look! The divine ranking just changed. Su Zimo followed the crowd's gaze and noticed a piece of dark golden cloth hanging in midair at the side of the plaza. On the cloth, dozens of names shimmered with golden light. Looking closely, it read, Gong Feiyang, Rank 1, Highest Level, 7. Lu Xianliang, Rank 2, Highest Level, 7. Yu Luan had previously been ranked 5th. He now jumped to 3rd, surpassing many others. The rankings considered not just the level reached, but also the time one lasted within that level. The crowd looked at the black-clothed figure healing nearby with newfound respect. Yu Luan was a rogue cultivator, unaffiliated with any major sect. Getting this far was no small feat. Su Zimo found it interesting. Soon it was Joyu's turn. As a descendant of the gods, Su Zimo held high expectations for her among her peers. The divine bloodline in her veins gave her many advantages. When Joyu first stepped up, few paid attention. But when she reached level 5 and moved into level 6, the murmurs started. Who's that girl? Never seen her before. She must be from out of town. Even Yu Luan opened his eyes and glanced over. Could we see 2 people reach the 7th level today? Someone speculated. But just as they spoke, Joyu's figure was transported back down. Though she hadn't reached level 7, she had lasted long enough in level 6 to show great promise. Next time, she might just succeed. Joyu ignored the stares and chatter around her and walked straight back to Su Zimo. It's pretty tough, she said, taking a deep breath. What's it like inside? Su Zimo asked with a smile. From levels 1 to 6, you fight virtual opponents. The higher the level, the stronger and more numerous they get, Joyu explained after thinking for a moment. I'll give it a shot, Su Zimo said with a grin. He picked up his token, waited briefly, and then entered the staircase. The first level was an empty grand hall. The space was quiet, and then vortexes of light formed as a figure appeared. It was a faceless man in a blue robe with no features on his face. Su Zimo suppressed his own cultivation to the fusion heaven realm. The staircase wouldn't detect this trick. He could sense the faceless man was one minor realm above him. Not wasting time, he slapped the opponent into nothingness. A suction force pulled him upward to the 2nd level. This time there were 2 faceless men, each 2 realms stronger than him. Chapter 698 Meeting the Eternal Godly Monarch. Su Zimo didn't linger on the second level. With another palm strike, the two faceless men were reduced to dust. When he reached the third level, he found the pattern continued. 3 faceless men, each 3 minor realms higher than his displayed cultivation. Outside, due to Joyo's performance, many had become curious and turned their attention to Su Zimo. The layers of the God Ascension staircase lit up one by one, not quickly, but steadily. When the 6th level lit up, many people's expressions grew animated. Wow! A burst of noise came from the crowd. The 7th level. He reached the 7th level. Before the astonishment could even settle, the dark gold wall of the 8th level lit up immediately after. The 8th level? The crowd seemed to erupt. Since the God Ascension staircase had been built, millions had tried to ascend it. But no one had ever reached the 8th level. This completely shattered the record. Even Yu Luan, who was still recovering below, furrowed his brow and looked toward the staircase, deep in thought. Forget the 8th level, just the 7th was already inhumanly difficult. 7 faceless men, each 7 minor realms above him. By Yu Luan's estimates, those enemies were already at the Grand Empyrean realm. 7 Grand Empyreans at once, he had no chance of winning. As for the difficulty of the 8th level, he didn't even dare imagine it. Before Yu Luan could process his thoughts, someone nearby nearly bit their tongue and stammered, "9th level." Following the crowd's gaze, Yu Luan saw that person had cleared the 8th level and reached the highest level of the staircase. His pupils contracted, and he stared blankly toward the God Ascension staircase. Did that person just meet the godly monarch? Inside the staircase, after Su Zimo effortlessly defeated the enemies on the 8th level, he proceeded directly to the 9th. The 8th level's enemies had indeed been powerful, their numbers and strength exponentially greater. For most people, passing that level was nearly impossible. Upon entering the 9th level, Su Zimo found it different from the dark spaces of the previous levels. It resembled a grand hall. All around were statues, some with human faces and beast bodies, some vicious beasts with 8 claws. There were figures wielding giant axes, seemingly ready to split the heavens in two. Others brandished swords that could cause half the world to collapse. Besides the lifelike statues, the hall's walls were made of finely carved blue stones. The carvings depicted scenes of war. Su Zimo glanced over them and realized they told the story of the invasion from beyond the Immortal Dao Bridge. At the front of the hall, a pillar of light shot toward the sky, illuminating the entire chamber. Inside that beam stood a figure, an elderly man in a green robe, appearing to be in his twilight years. His hair was white, and his face was lined with deep wrinkles. He looked like he could pass away at any moment. "You've arrived." The elder smiled as he watched Su Zimo approach. "Are you the eternal godly monarch?" Su Zimo asked cautiously. "Strictly speaking, I'm just a fragment of the godly monarch's soul. But you can call me godly monarch." The elder smiled. "May I ask your name?" "Su Zimo," he replied plainly. "I sensed it from the moment you entered. This staircase can't hold you," the elder said. "Even Grand Empyreans struggle to reach the top here. Only true peerless talents, or another godly monarch, can defy the rules." "That's one way to put it," Su Zimo replied with a smile. "Why have you come, if I may ask?" The elder smiled. "I doubt you care much for the inheritance here." "Not really here for anything. Just curious when I saw the staircase." Su Zimo chuckled. "Where is your true self? When you cross the Immortal Dao Bridge, perhaps we'll meet again on the other side." The elder replied with a smile. "When do you plan to go there?" "No rush." Su Zimo shook his head. "Can you tell me about the world beyond the Immortal Dao Bridge? In truth, this soul fragment isn't connected to the main body. I don't know what he's done in that world," the elder said, shaking his head regretfully. "But I can tell you about the Great War back then." Su Zimo nodded slightly. He wasn't in a hurry. He believed that the great world the Grand Emperors reached after ascending, whether it was the outer heavens or beyond the Immortal Dao Bridge, was all the same place. So before going to outer heavens, he had to be fully prepared. The elder took his time, reminiscing about the past. After he finished, Su Zimo asked in surprise, "So you're saying that even now, there are still remnants of the outer heaven forces on the eternal lands?" "Yes," the elder nodded. "We destroyed their main force in the war, but many of their remnants survived. They might know more about the other world than I do." "I see." Su Zimo nodded. "Are you leaving now?" the elder asked with a smile. "No point in staying longer," Su Zimo replied. "I've been alone here for tens of thousands of years. Would you spar with me before you go?" The elder smiled. "Same realm, no spirit force, pure technique. If you want to test me, then come on," Su Zimo smiled. At that moment, the elder's expression turned serious. He stood in a Tai Chi stance, bowing slightly with both hands. His right arm pulled back. "Guarding the palace," the elder said softly. With no spirit force used, he still crossed dozens of meters in a blink, appearing behind Su Zimo. "Guarding the crane," he called out again, reaching to seize Su Zimo's right arm in a grappling move. But when he grabbed Su Zimo's arm, it was like grabbing a block of iron, solid and immovable. The elder understood. They weren't using any abilities, only technique and form. "You're still not enough," Su Zimo smiled. He threw a punch. The elder felt a bizarre sense of inevitability. He couldn't dodge. He hadn't felt that way in years. He clapped his hands together and took the punch head-on. But the force of it exceeded expectations, and he couldn't hold his stance. He was sent flying uncontrollably. Chapter 699, Heaven Unity Record. After the elder steadied himself, he had already retreated several dozen steps. His figure flickered, seemingly unstable and on the verge of vanishing. "Your power is immense," the elder remarked after observing Su Zimo. "Want to go again?" Su Zimo asked. "No need. Even if my true self came, the outcome would be the same." "You've won," the elder said with a smile. "According to the rules, since you've successfully challenged this remnant soul, the inheritance I left behind is naturally yours." Hearing this, Su Zimo was slightly surprised. He hadn't come here for any inheritance, expecting only a simple duel. But seeing the smile on the elder's face, Su Zimo suddenly suspected this had been the elder's plan all along. "We're both godly monarchs. Giving me your inheritance might be a waste," Su Zimo said. "Besides, I might not even need it." "You might as well take a look first," the elder replied with a smile. As his voice fell, the beam of heavenly light surrounding him began to ripple. From within the beam, the floor of the hall opened up, and a golden key slowly floated into the air. It was unclear what material the key was made of, but the moment it appeared, the surrounding spiritual energy rushed toward it. A shadowy face emerged on the key, which seemed to awaken as it absorbed more energy. Deep growls began to echo from within. The elder waved his hand and sealed the key again. The shadow inside continued to rage against the seal, looking fierce and savage. "What is this?" Su Zimo asked with a frown. "This is the Heaven Unity Key," the elder explained with a smile. "My remnant soul has been sealing it. Now that I'm giving it to you, it's time for me to disappear." "I don't understand," Su Zimo said, shaking his head. "In this eternal city, besides the God Ascension Staircase, there's another place, the Immortal Tao Ruins. You should know of it," the elder said. "That ruin was left behind after the Great War between us and the world beyond the Immortal Tao Bridge. Many treasures from that time remain inside. At first, our Eternal God sect managed it, and our disciples cleaned out the outer areas. But the core region, which is far more dangerous, no one dared to touch. Later, to lure out surviving enemies, I opened the ruins to everyone. Unfortunately, those survivors are too cautious and never fell for the bait." "What does this have to do with me?" Su Zimo asked, frowning. "And what about this Heaven Unity Key?" "Please hear me out," the elder replied with a smile. "Do you know why those remnants still remain on the Eternal Lands? I even suspect some are hiding within Eternal City itself. It's because after their leader died in that battle, he lost something very important in the immortal Dao ruins. What was it? Su Zimo asked, frowning. The Heaven Unity record, the elder answered. I don't know exactly where it is, but I'm certain it's in the core of the ruins. To access that core, only this Heaven Unity key can unlock the seal protecting the Heaven Unity record. Not even a godly monarch can force it open. What is the Heaven Unity record? Su Zimo asked. I don't know exactly. It's an ancient artifact. I searched for it for many years but never found it. Perhaps I lacked the fate, the elder said, shaking his head. Those remnants have always been after the Heaven Unity key. Over the years, they've tried countless times, changing identities, climbing the stairway, but none have succeeded. Now that you're giving me this key, aren't you making me their main target? Su Zimo frowned. He knew the remnants the elder spoke of were survivors from that ancient war. Whether you accept the key or not, now that I've given it to you, they won't let you go, the elder said. You'll have to deal with them. You want to use me to eliminate them, Su Zimo said coldly. This is the last thing I can do for this continent, the elder said with guilt. I'm sorry. I've waited tens of thousands of years, and now this remnant soul can no longer hold back the Heaven Unity key. If you hadn't come, the seal would have broken on its own within a millennium. Aren't you afraid I'll destroy your eternal God sect? Su Zimo asked. Sigh. The elder sighed. All things require trade-offs. I don't know what my true body is doing, but it knows everything I've done here. You'll eventually cross the immortal Dao bridge. Once you reach the other world, you can ask for any compensation you like. I'll treat it as repayment. And who knows? Maybe you're the fated one destined for the Heaven Unity record. Before Su Zimo could respond, the elder's soul began to dissipate. Using his last strength, the elder resealed the Heaven Unity key and handed it to Su Zimo. From a broad perspective, the eternal godly monarch was selfless and worthy of respect. Even in the end, he tried to do something for this world. But what did this have to do with Su Zimo? If those remnants didn't provoke him, he wouldn't bother with them either. With the remnant soul gone, the entire God Ascension staircase lost its brilliance. Su Zimo was transported down from the 9th floor. When he stepped out and returned to the outside world, he was stunned by what he saw. A dense sea of people surrounded the stairway. It seemed like the entire city had gathered, all wanting to witness the first person in tens of thousands of years to receive the inheritance. The crowd was packed and deafening. The noise could rupture an ordinary person's eardrums. Around the stairway, a group of disciples in blue robes had surrounded the area, isolating the crowd and quietly waiting for Su Zimo to appear. Su Zimo recognized the robes. They were the official attire of the Eternal God sect. Among these disciples stood a group of leaders. At the front was a middle-aged man in deep blue robes. His presence was immense. Just standing there seemed to suppress the entire sky. With his thick beard and stern face, he exuded a natural authority. Behind him were many others, elderly men with white hair, scholarly men with refined features, and brawny men with the aura of wild beasts. Their appearances varied, but one thing was consistent: their overwhelming presence. Though the crowd was massive, no one dared to cause chaos or cross the blue-robed disciples' line. Everyone knew these were figures whose mere footsteps could shake the entire land. Chapter 700 Lord of the Eternal God Sect. These people were none other than the rulers of the Eternal God Sect. Sect Master Gong Chuha and all the elders were present. Among them were 3 Grand Empyreans and countless other powerful cultivators at the Fusion Heaven realm. This was the strongest force in the southern region, the Eternal God Sect. They could dominate the world with a single hand and do as they pleased across the entire southern region. Young Master Lin, welcome to Eternal City, Gong Chuha said with a smile as he walked forward with the stride of a dragon and tiger. In the time they waited for Su Zimo to emerge, they had already investigated his identity thoroughly. Lin Qiu, disciple of the 9 Heavens Imperial Sect. Their intelligence network was incredibly powerful. Sect Master Gong, what do you want? Su Zimo asked as he looked around. Even Jiu Yu was being blocked by these people. This isn't a place for conversation. Would young Master Lin be willing to come back with us to the God sect so we can discuss matters further? Gong Chuha asked with a smile. Su Zimo glanced around and chuckled. With your show of force, does it even matter if I say no? You jest, young Master Lin, Gong Chuha replied, waving his hand. A flying sedan was brought over. The sedan was light blue, its roof triangular, adorned with wind chimes. The fabric was decorated with the sect emblem of the Eternal God sect. Please, step into the sedan, Gong Chuha said with a smile. Let my friend come too, Su Zimo said, pointing at Jiu Yu who was still being blocked outside. The blue-robed disciples let Jiu Yu through, and the two of them sat in the sedan together. The carriers were four graceful women, who stepped into the air. Ribbons fluttered in the breeze, wrapping around the sedan as it flew into the distance. Watching it depart, one of the elders behind Gong Chuha hesitated, as if wanting to speak. Sect Master. The burly man who looked like a fearsome beast began to speak, but Gong Chuha waved his hand and said, We'll talk when we return. 3 kilometers behind Eternal City stood a massive mountain shrouded in mist, towering like a pillar into the heavens. Compared to Eternal City, the significance and ancient history of Eternal God Mountain were even greater. It was known as the #1 divine mountain in the southern region. To outsiders, it was a place of perpetual fog, mysterious and majestic. But those who had seen its true face knew that it was a paradise of eternal spring, with clear mountains and flowing waters, a place of rare feng shui. Long ago, the Eternal Godly Monarch had founded the sect here, and the entire Eternal God sect had risen and flourished around this mountain. Su Zimo could feel the sedan flying through the air, the ribbons blocking his vision. Beside him, Jiu Yu seemed a bit anxious. You really reached the top floor? Su Zimo nodded. You saw the Eternal Godly Monarch? He nodded again. And you got his inheritance? Jiu asked. What do we do now? The Eternal God sect won't let you go so easily. If soldiers come, I'll block them. If water comes, I'll use earth to stop it. Su Zimo replied with a laugh. Easy for you to say. Even if you handed the inheritance back, they probably wouldn't let us go. Jiu Yu sighed. It's my fault. I shouldn't have brought you to the God Ascension staircase. Who knew you'd actually reach the top? Su Zimo just smiled and said nothing. What kind of inheritance is it? Jiu Yu asked curiously. A hot potato, Su Zimo chuckled. As they spoke, the sedan slowly landed. Young master, please disembark, came a gentle female voice from outside. It was one of the sedan carriers. Let's go, Su Zimo said, smiling at Jiu Yu's worried face. The two stepped down from the sedan. Su Zimo was calm, but Jiu Yu was stunned by the sight before her. They were standing at the gate of the Eternal God sect. The towering gate resembled a dragon's gate, with a design of 2 dragons playing with a pearl. The dragons were intricately carved, lifelike and dynamic. They twisted and coiled together, forming an arched gate. Through the gate, the vast sect sprawled endlessly. Countless buildings were arranged in tight formation, grand halls glittering with gold, towers wreathed in flame, and courtyards surrounded by yin-yang fish forming realms of separation. Within the sect, ancient trees reached to the heavens, and sacred springs erupted skyward. All kinds of mystical visions appeared. Blue-robed disciples flew by on swords, while fearsome beasts stirred up storms of blood and roared across the land. The Eternal God sect was nothing like the tranquil, mist-veiled exterior. It was more like a small world, each part evolving in its own way. As Su Zimo stepped down, a blue-robed elder approached. Young Master Lin, our sect master awaits you in the Eternal Hall. Please, follow me. Su Zimo nodded slightly. The two of them followed the elder, passing through various pavilions, halls, and scenic spots until they arrived at a grand, imposing hall. The words Eternal Hall shone in the air above, bright like stars in the sky. The hall itself was a dark iron blue, with carvings of demonic beasts on its sides. It gave off an atmosphere of solemnity and weight. As they approached, the elder raised his hand to stop Jiuyu. Our sect master only wishes to ask young Master Lin some questions. Matters regarding the ancestor. Miss, please wait here, he said with a smile. Jiuyu nodded and could only wait outside. Su Zimo walked in casually. Upon entering, he took in the scene. The hall was vast beyond belief. Standing inside made one feel small and insignificant. At the head of the hall, on a throne shaped like a dragon's head, Gong Chuha sat with an expression of dignity and authority. Beside him sat an elderly man and woman, both white-haired and exuding a powerful aura. Su Zimo could sense they had likely reached the Grand Empyrean realm. On either side stood the sect's core elders, more than 20 people in total, each radiating immense pressure that seemed to seal off the very air inside the hall. Anyone entering would instantly feel the weight of their presence. Young Master Lin, you've arrived. Gong Chuha greeted with a mild smile. With this kind of grand welcome, what does Sect Master Gong want with me? Su Zimo asked. That God Ascension staircase was left by our ancestor. Surely you know what that implies, Gong Chuha replied. I know what you want to ask, Su Zimo said. I saw the godly monarch. I received his inheritance. That's all you're after, isn't it? Then why haven't you handed it over? Roared the burly man beside Gong Chuha, the one who resembled a beast. Si Xiong, stand down, Gong Chuha said sternly, glancing at him.